right, ladies, come on in. Where is everybody? Hello, hello. Okay. All righty, let's come in and have a seat. You are in for a treat. Oh, I made a rhyme. Woohoo! As you know, this is our second SALT conference. And last year, we did have some panelists. And this was actually a lot of people's absolute favorite time. You are going to learn something from these ladies that you have never heard. And you're going to get an opportunity at the end to ask questions. So as they're talking, start formulating questions in your mind that you would really like to know, okay? So without further ado, this is the education panel. And to my right is Anita Scott. And we have Tammy Rodriguez. And our interviewer today is going to be Tracy Eckert. Take it away.
All right. How's that? Not that I need a microphone, let's be honest. You know those people that got the voice box that's just on full volume all the time? I can be at a whisper and they can hear me in the next county. Yeah, it's bad. Anyway, John said, I'm so glad that I married someone who's so loud. All right, so welcome to the education panel. Now, as you ladies know, education is of primary importance for us as a nation. Not just as a nation, but our communities, our families. I have 7 children, so educating 7 children has come at both a challenge, mostly a challenge, and not really that much of a joy. And I will tell you why, because we sent them to private schools with the big dollar sign attached to it. We sent them to public schools, which is just like you're basically saying to the government, I want you to educate my child, and trusting them, which, 20 years ago it was a little bit different than it is now. But then we sent them to co-ops. Then we sent them to kind of it's not a co-op, but it's like a half school, half home situation. And then we homeschooled. Okay, so we've done everything. And in fact, I think education is so important that we started our own school here, Comenia School of Creative Leadership. And so I understand that our children's lives are very connected to, and the trajectory of their lives will depend on where they go depending on education. So when I was talking about earlier that I felt like we should, what are some things that we can do in America to make America better? If you really open up that conversation, Anita and I were talking earlier, and I said, well, the first thing I would do would be social media, not until they're 18 or maybe even 21. The second thing that I would do is I would get rid of the Department of Education. Can I get an amen? All right. That's going to be one of the things we're going to do. I've already decided. We're just going to put that on our list of things to do, kind of like grocery shopping. We will demand that thing is dissolved. But anyway, I know that both of these ladies would agree with me, but I wanted to start. Let's start with Tammy Brown Rodriguez, and I am going to read you this resume. You guys are going to, your jaws are going to hit the ground, okay? So it's pretty comprehensive. So Tammy has owned and operated a consulting firm for 25 years. She has 20 years experience in protecting the consumer right to contract on a state and national level while uniting an entire industry. She has led the passage of laws in 28 states to ensure citizens had the right to contract without coercion from government. Can I get an amen to that too? She has testified before congressional hearings and worked with countless governmental regulatory bodies to ensure consumer rights are not violated by an overreaching government. She's listed in the Cambridge who's who's of executives, professionals, and entrepreneurs. Was recently given the Woman in Business Award by the Dallas Business Journal and was awarded Professional Woman of the Year by the National Association of Professional Women, and featured in the book Unstoppable Women of North Dallas, right here. I know, right? I like the idea of unstoppable women. I just love that, just that phrase. Okay, so she was former candidate for Dallas City Council District 9, former PCRW, you'll have to say what that, tell me what that means.
Park Cities Republican Women.
Oh, that is Park Cities Republican Women. Executive board member, former Community Police Oversight Board, District 9, and precinct chair for 2039. Come on. You're like, what? Yeah, she's going to tell you. All right, so a couple of questions. Now, where do you come into play when it comes to education? Where do you fit when we're having the conversation about education in Texas and Dallas, or really just across the nation?
So specifically to that question, I am the director of policy for Yaku Williams Ministries, which is an anti-trafficking organization. And so I've had the privilege to lean in and address legislative issues that we're facing nationally, in fact, globally, which is the sexualization of our children, right?
Yeah.
So my youngest is 29. And so many years ago when we were foster parents, my son came home with inappropriate material and he was 12. And so that's when I realized the explicit content in our schools that we had to do something. So not only as a parent did I lean in to start going to school board meetings and rallying the troops, but when we didn't get the job done that way, we wrote some laws to make sure that that stuff gets out of our schools, not only here in Texas, but 46 states are currently looking at that same legislation.
That's
so those
amazing.
are huge wins happening.
Come on. So I want you to know that there are so many women that are working behind the scenes that are these giants in the kingdom, and they're going in and they're creating change behind the scenes. And Tammy is one of them. And so we had dinner the other night, and she was telling me that she really enjoys reading these big, thick policy, legislation type of documents. And she said, oh, I do that for fun. And I'm like, I'm sorry? But she was telling me about everything that she had done. So why don't you give us kind of a what's going on in the Texas legislature? Like, what's the truth? Because I'll say something to her, oh, I think this is a great idea. And she goes, okay, let me tell you what the small print is. Because it's somebody like Tammy that will go in and she'll say, no, you are telling us it's one thing, when in fact, it actually has a lot of legislation and a lot of writing in it that is small print, and it's not what it seems.
That's right. And so I want to encourage us that this last legislative session in Texas, we made massive wins for our children. That has been a legislative priority for the Republican Party for years, and they've done nothing. But this last session, not only were people like Anita and myself at the Capitol every single week, but we were able to mobilize over 600 people to get up to the Capitol, to knock on doors, and to address our elected officials to tell them what we expect. It's a different dynamic now because we have abdicated that role and responsibility. We thought somebody else will do it. But this last session, we had things pass, like getting the explicit content out of our schools,
Come on.
HB 900.
Come on.
Huge win, huge win. We also were able to get the gender modification stopped to them modifying our children's gender. We were able to put chaplains in every school.
Come on, that is so huge.
In the anti-trafficking space, when there's a chaplain on the premise, it decreases the trafficking that is happening in your schools every day. I know, huge. We also got In God We Trust. Our national motto is now predominantly placed in every school, public school, if it's donated. So we mobilize moms to start donating In God We Trust to every school.
Wow.
That's huge.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so this brings up another issue. A lot of times, as parents, we're not in this realm that you're in. We're not in. We don't know how the legislature works. We're not familiar with civic situations, like all of the logistics. Not, yes, we're going to go vote. We'll find out who the candidates are. We'll do that. That's like, yes, check, got that. But you've gotten into the beehive. You've gotten into the inner sanctum of this place. And so you understand what it takes to get something done. So here's my question to you. Can you explain to these women that it's not as hard as it's made out to be?
So there's an old saying that, there's a couple things you never want to witness. One is legislation being passed. One is sausage being made, right? Basically, it's the same thing. And so the ease of, if you understand the bill, and you have people like Anita and myself who can help you do that, to sort through the language, and then you simply show up. It literally is as easy as getting on a bus, if you don't want to drive yourself, going up to Austin, knocking on doors and having conversations. Do you know that a bill could either die or pass simply by 50 constituents calling their legislators, writing an email, sending a letter? 50. If more than 50 are coming up and responding to that legislator, it's something. And they get excited about it, and they know, oh, they're listening. So think about 600 people coming up to the legislator last legislative session, and that's just the people that I know about. That's it. Be engaged, seek the information, and then send a text to a friend. Have one other person call your legislator.
So good.
Have one other person send an email. And if you don't know their email, let me know, because I've got them all. It's that easy.
Isn't that amazing? We think it's such this big mammoth thing that we can't actually affect change. But in fact, that is a lie from the enemy. And so if we get together, and here's the thing, you got to make things fun. Okay, so if we're going to go down to there's a legislative session. We found out about it. Here's some educational bills or some bills that directly affect us. We're going to have a 4-day weekend girl trip. Dad's going to take care of the kids. We're going to get hotel rooms. We're going to go riding down the river, whatever it is. We make it fun. We're also going to go hang out with all these legislators and our legislators, and we're going to say, you know what? Here's what we want. Here's how we want you to vote. We're really thankful that you're here. You need to do what we tell you to do. We have to remember something. They're called representatives because they represent us. Sometimes and look, here's the thing, they kind of get off the rails sometimes. But that's not their fault. That's our fault. Because we're not up there telling them what we want them to do. So we're saying, if you're going to represent us, here's what I need to be representative. And I will guarantee you, there are more of us than there are of them. They may dress funny and break windows and street signs and that kind of thing, but there are literally more of us than there are of them.
And to that point, I want to encourage you that reading legislation, I know in your brain right now, just in my husband's brain, it gets like you panic, just the thought of it, right? There's a summary. So every single piece of legislation that is submitted to be considered, we have a one-pager or a summary, which is a paragraph that gives you the information. That's a really easy, tangible way to get started. And I'm also going to plug, if you're not a part of a conservative organization, whether it's Park City Women's Republican Group or my PAC, which is A Better Dallas, we're a PAC that focuses on getting conservatives elected. We train you to do these things. Plug in and let us do the heavy lifting, and then take what we provide for you and run with it.
And I just want to address this statement or this philosophy about the church being political, okay? We live in a republic, so we have a voice. We have a choice. And we're supposed to stand for righteousness. It is actually not political to make sure that justice and righteousness is done in America, and that we let our voice be heard, and that we speak the truth. This is a SALT conference. You know, we're to be light and salt. That means that we're to influence every mountain out there. Government is a mountain, and it plays an enormous role for our families, right? And so, do we want peace in the land? Yes. Do we want prosperity in the land? Yes. Do I want it for me? Yes. Do I want it for my children and my grandchildren? Yes. These are the things. And when Jesus walked the earth, he was under tyrannical rule. There was no vote. Nobody got to vote. So getting involved wasn't an option. There was only kings that ruled over them. Today, we have the ability to save a nation by actually beginning to get involved and showing that we no longer are going to tolerate this kind of evil. And destroying our children is the greatest evil that I can imagine, right? So I am just so thankful that it is very clear, do I want to be connected to the side that wants to mutilate and kill children? No, that does not align with anything in the Bible. I want to be in the side of life. I want to be in the side of love. I want to be on the side of freedom, right? Yes. So it's not a party issue. It's a God issue. And so we're on God's side, all right? Amen? All right, thank you, Tammy. Now, is there anything else? Because I have some questions here. All right. Out of all the adversity you have overcome, what is the most impactful and why? Tell us a little bit about your story, because you have the most interesting life.
So it's tough to put in a nutshell. But in a nutshell, I came from a highly abusive home growing up, in a family where two of my abusers were my siblings. I was able to leave home at 14, but the deal was that I had to have a full-time job and stay in school, so my parents wouldn't report me as a runaway. Somehow, by the grace of God, I graduated from high school, put myself through Bible college, and ended up in, surprisingly enough, another abusive relationship, right? Because that's, if we don't deal with it, it'll deal with you.
Right, come on.
8 years of that, finally, by the grace of God, walked out of that relationship, lost everything, had to start again. Finally was figuring it out, had a great job, and then I had an employer. I was in an all-male industry, and I had an employer break into my apartment, lock me in my house where I couldn't escape. Figured out how to get through that, and then had to rebuild my life again, because obviously I lost my job. And as soon as I was able to restore my mental health and get back into a career that served me well, I was diagnosed with a terminal disease that the doctor said, there's no hope, go home and die. And they put me on palliative care. Well, by the grace of God, I met the most amazing man in that time, and my husband and I came together, and through natural care, through the Gershon program, which is juicing 22 pounds of carrots and apples a day, 4.5 years later, I made it out. Still alive.
Come on.
Right?
Come on.
And Daniel. And here's the thing. Again, I lost it all. I lost what I thought was my greatest asset, which was my mind, because it was brain cancer. I lost any ability to make income. I didn't know how to drive. I didn't know how to walk upstairs. But in that time frame, the greatest gift God gave me was a man that loved me unconditionally. And that is the true blessing of our Lord. That's the love he has for us.
Yeah.
And then I learned my true purpose. And that was to tell my story about the abuse that I've been through, to release women and men who've been sexually abused, to lean into it. And in that, we're providing victory. In our testimony, there's victory.
Yeah.
And now I write legislation to protect children. Now, through the grace of God, I was able to spend 15 years looking for my niece who was trafficked. And about 2 weeks ago, we found her.
Man, that is incredible.
And I want to say that the biggest gift in that is that it was my sister's daughter, my sister who was my abuser. So not only is there redemption for those that are lost, there's redemption for those that are doing the perpetrating of these crimes, and we get to love them as Christ loves the church.
Wow. Wow. Talk about praying for your enemies. Come on. That's amazing. That is so beautiful. Well, so that, okay, where do you go from there? That, I love you so much. I really do. And it's so inspiring to hear about the courage that it takes to get up again and get up again. And there's something about, and just as you're speaking and saying that, there's something about when you fall down and then God gives you the strength to get back up. But there's something that we've got to have within us that says, no, I am not going to be destroyed. I'm going to kill the enemy. I am going to punch him in the face every day, and I'm going to win because of Jesus. So I just admire and I so honor you for your strength to keep getting up by the grace of God. All right, so another question. How do you balance political activism, working on campaigns, including your own, writing legislation, and your work in fighting sex trafficking with your faith?
All of those things I do because of my faith. Hear me. If not me, then who? If I'm not going to fight for the orphans and the widows, who's going to do it?
So good.
And if the only way that I can do that is through knocking on doors and educating our community on their right to control the government, we are the true owners of the government, not them of us. So you've got to reclaim your authority in the Lord and be willing to give it all. And
Good.
when that happens, you don't have to like me. In fact, I really don't care, ultimately. Like, I just assume you do. And I'm kind of surprised when you don't, but shocking. Just saying.
I love me.
But it's because of the God that is within and what Jesus came to do. Who am I to throw that away? It is our biblical responsibility to lean in and take this country back. It is required of us. We are the remnant. So for me, all of those things are the doing because of who he is in my life. And if I did not do those things, I would be a willfully disobedience to my Father in heaven.
Wow. So
and
good.
he's who I'm ultimately accountable for.
So good. You know, we all want to get to the end of our lives and hear, well done, good and faithful servant. You know, that we followed him well and were obedient to the things that he had called us to do. You know, not all of us may be called to read legislation for fun. But you are, and you responded to the call. And the volumes of all of these pages that you're reading and the effects that it's having in our community and in our state, I just say thank you. Thank you that you answered the call and you are a sent one. Yeah, and then you care so deeply for our children. And I just feel like God has set people like you and like Anita in these places for such a time as this. And as I was speaking earlier, just about Esther and JL and Deborah, you really are the epitome of this in this area of education. And so I just so honor you, and I just thank God that Texas has you. you know. All right, so let me ask you one more thing. You said get involved in a conservative um, community action group. Now, do you have some that you can recommend to those of us in Texas? Now, those that are in other places, um, how would they find those if they Google it, or if they, however, don't Google, what, Yeah, or there's another one. What's that other one I use? Fire starter. There's another one. Anyway, there's others out there other than the Google. Use those. But okay, so how do we go about finding those?
That's a great question, because especially in our area, a lot of people say they're conservative. I want to see it, right? I want to see the things. So locally, if you're in Texas, A Better Dallas, which is the PAC that I'm involved with, I strongly recommend, because we do the things.
So, and there's a website, A Better Dallas.
abetterdallas.com. My card is out front. Pick up my card. You can text me, email me, let me know that you want to get involved. And I'm also involved nationally. Currently, I'm in 46 states fighting legislation. So I am connected to all the grassroots organizations that are fighting getting the explicit content out of schools. I've been in 3 states in the last week. So we've got people everywhere. I don't care what state you're from. If you text me or email me, I can point you in the right direction, because there's a lot of information out there that is obviously inaccurate.
So now these conservative sites, what you're doing is at the conservative site. So if there's legislation that's coming up, they're going to alert us and let us know.
Some. So there's some that will do that. There's grassroots, a lot of grassroots groups out there, but you have to tell them that that's what you want. Here's the thing. We have not been in demand of what we want or need. So there's a lot of conservative groups that will get together for lunch. They'll have a speaker, and they'll talk about shoes. All right. Those are not the conservative groups I want you to get involved with. I want you to get involved with a conservative group when you say, what can I do? They will actually give you action items, not say, just give us money. If they don't talk about the power of the precinct chair, which is the most perfect representation of this great republic, which is a small area, about 2,000 voters, that you can understand how they vote, you'll know who your conservative neighbors are. If they won't give you that information, that is not the group for you.
Okay, now you just opened up Pandora's box, because I'm going to have to go there. Okay, you and I have known each other for not long, but I've heard you say the importance of precinct chair several times. So for everybody in here that failed civic class, can you simplify that and tell us why that's important? And how do we vote in our precinct chair?
Okay, so a precinct is a predetermined amount of voters in a specific geographical area, i.e. your neighborhood. Some of us that are older remember a time when you would vote in your precinct. You would go to the library in your neighborhood to vote. And that was the only place you could go. Remember those days?
Yeah.
Back when elections were secure? I had to.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I had to. So what has happened is that we have migrated away from that. But I want you to think about the importance of a community. Back when we would go to our school that was in our neighborhood, and we would vote in our neighborhood, back when we knew our neighbors. So a precinct is an area of about 27 to sometimes 3,000 voters, and that in every precinct, there is a Democrat and a Republican precinct chair, which is an elected position, right? Now, that means that they represent those 3,000 voters. As the Republican precinct chair for 2039, which is the precinct in Dallas County, we have like 830 precincts. There's about 530 that have voters, and then there's like only 275 of us. So as a precinct chair, our job is to educate our neighbors. Our job is to knock on your door and let you know who is running on that particular ticket, whether it's Republican or Democrat. Our job is to get you to go vote. Our job is to want to hear from you, what are your concerns? So when you think about politics, we often think about the president, our Congress, right? I charge every one of you, what happens right here in Dallas County in your precinct is the most important piece. That affects your pocketbook. We have been worried about federal for so long, we took our eye off the ball. That's how we lost Dallas. That's how Dallas has become absolutely liberal until now. We're reclaiming. If you want to find out, you're like, okay, Tammy, I might want to do something. Great. I want you to find out who your precinct chair is.
How do you do that?
Well, I'm going to make an assumption that we might have more Republicans here than Democrats. That might not be a great assumption, but you go to your party website. Like if you're a Republican, you would go to dallasgop.org. And you go to a tab that says leadership, and you find, and it'll say precinct chair. You click on that, and if you have a precinct chair, their name will come up. If you don't have a precinct chair, let me know and you can become one.
Now, this isn't a full-time job?
No, a precinct chair is an elected position. We are a citizen government here in the state of Texas. So really, we don't have any elected officials that is a full-time job. This is an opportunity for you to decide how much you want to contribute. Do you want to contribute an hour a month? Great. You run it the way you want to, and the training is provided by A Better Dallas. So you can come to our organization, we can train you so you know the things to do. And the role and responsibility of a precinct chair is simply to get out the vote, educate your neighbors, and go to the executive meetings, which is the county party meetings. That's it. Now, if you want to influence your county, you can participate more. If you want to influence your Senate district, we can show you how to influence it. If you want to influence the state party, the state Republican Party, we can show you. But I want everyone to focus on local, precinct, because those are the only elected official when we go to our meetings that get to speak in the meetings. If you're not a precinct chair, you're in the, I always say this to Daniel and he laughs, right? There's three kinds of folks, right? There's the participators, right? Those that are playing the game on the football field. There's the spectators, we're watching, right? Then there's the taters who don't even know why they're there. Don't be a tater.
Okay, so I love that the precinct chairs are the ones that get to do the talking, because let's be honest, lady, if we got paid for how many words we say in a day, we'd all be wealthy. Can I get an amen? Right? None of us even understand why at 9 p.m. our husbands quit talking. Well, they're out of words. But that never happens to women. We don't run out of words. This is an opportunity for you to talk. And you talk with the anointing of the Holy Spirit, right? So you get up there, and it's a way to influence the place that you're at. I'm telling you, if she's saying it's an hour, it could be an hour a month. It could be an hour a week. It could be, I don't know, an hour a week. We can do this. It's not such a demand on our time, but yet it has a big influence and a big impact. I think that's huge. I love that idea, and I think we can get behind that. Again, I also love the storming Washington, D.C. with a whole herd of white horses. We're riding, our hair's flowing, we're wearing the fabulous outfit, but this also is a good idea. okay? You know. All right. All right, we're going to move on. So we also have with us today beautiful Anita Scott, who is the director. Woo woo! The Director of Public Policy for Texas Homeschool Coalition. So I'm going to give you a little bit about her bio. She is a native of Oak Cliff, Dallas. She has a blended background of homeschool and public school experience. She and her 7 siblings were homeschooled when homeschooling in Texas was illegal. Hey, come on. Speaking my language there. Break
Rebels.
a rule, what? You worked as a teacher in your parents' Christian Homeschool Academy, and you began tutoring and teaching in nearby community colleges and universities. For over a decade, she served as a teacher and administrator in K through 12 campuses. You achieved your master's in educational leadership from SMU. You're grateful in recounting how you have been blessed to partner with God to bring kingdom transformation into the lives of students, families, and teachers. And now all of Texas families through the legal, lobbying, and election work that you do with the Texas Homeschool Coalition. Man, I just think that's amazing. So, all right, so can you give us just a brief testimony and you can tell us how you got here?
Absolutely, absolutely. First, can I just say thank you for letting me be on this couch?
Oh, we're so happy to have you.
Next to Tammy. I love living out of a place of gratitude, so I wasn't going to dismiss that. So thank you so much for this opportunity. So I am the 4th of 8 children. My parents homeschooled all 8 of us. Sometime in the 70s, when my parents were married, my mom looked at my father before any of 8 children were born, and she said they will never go to a public school.
Wow.
And they made that decision in the 70s. Yes, exactly. So they started homeschooling us, and before long, the children of my parents' friends started also asking my mom, can you homeschool our children too? And my parents said yes. And so the couches went into the garage, and my dad, I don't know where he went and got desks, but he went and found some desks. And our family pictures came down, and the periodic table of elements went up. And our whole house just became a school. And even before my parents invited children of their friends to come, my parents woke us up every day beginning at 5 a.m. And we all took a shower, ate breakfast, cleaned up, and we got dressed. We had to polish our shoes, and then we went into the living room.
Wow.
And so they ran a very tight ship. And so my mother is 76, and she is here today. Will you raise your hand?
Hey, come on. Yes. Yes. Now that's what you call a forerunner.
Yes, yes.
Welcome. We're so thankful you're here. And thank you for being a forerunner.
Amen. Amen. This is the same woman who block walks with me. When we know the names on a ballot, I ran home one day last year or the year before, and I said, hey, I got to change clothes. I'm about to go block walking. And she was on the phone. Hey, Marlene, I'm going to let you go. I'm about to go block walking. And I said, oh, I didn't tell you to come. No, I'm going to. All right. So all of that to say, my parents homeschooled us. At some point, my dad went and got a building, turned it into a whole Christian academy. I worked there for a few years, all the while thinking, education, though, is not my niche. I will not be doing this. I'm glad I'm working here, Mom, but this is not where I'm going in life. Didn't I say that? And you didn't have to answer so fast, though. You could have made it seem like you didn't remember. So I ran from education for a very long time. However, education found me. I think Psalms 23 says goodness and mercy will follow you. Yeah. That was what it looked like in my life. So when I tried to run from it, it did not run from me. I found myself in Charlotte in 2011. This is to answer the question of how I got here. I found myself in Charlotte in 2011. So I want to right now talk to the homeschool moms. I want to talk. If you're a homeschool mom, raise your hand. I want to talk to you.
Wow.
Yes. Way to go. Are you a mom whose children goes to a public school? Because I want to talk to you just for a second. Anyone go to a public school? Thank you. Anyone go to a private school? Okay, because what you're about to do right now is through the voices, you're about to get empowered. I want to tell you something. So in 2011, I was in Charlotte, and I was homeschooling an autistic boy. Both of his parents were severe alcoholics. And they invited me to live with them because they didn't know what to do with him. He was 12. The Lord had given me a heart for children, but again, I was running from it. I was running. I thought, this is not my niche. Everybody in my family is an educator. I will not do this. I'm in this home in Charlotte. This little boy needed his life to move from darkness to light. And when I say he had been kicked out of every school in Charlotte because of his autistic behavior, he was violent. He could go to no more schools in the entire city of Charlotte. They asked me to come and live with them, and I began homeschooling him. I homeschooled him for about 7 months, and when I left, he was enrolled into the top private school in Charlotte. And this is why, though, because the Lord fights for children.
Yeah.
Psalm 68 says that he is a father to the fatherless. And when you're asking, how do we bring about change in our schools, public, private, parochial, and homeschool, it's the family who gets involved. So when I would homeschool this young boy during the day, and then I worked at a college at night, every Tuesday I gave him a homework assignment. You know what the homework assignment was? Cook dinner with your mom. And it was creating family because they were estranged. And every Thursday evening it was play video games with your stepfather.
Wow.
And the stepfather said, I don't know how to play video games. That's exactly the point. That's why you're going to do it. It was bringing family into a homeschooling situation because it's easy to put a child in front of a computer or an iPad or a laptop. It's easy to do that. And that's what was happening. He was playing Minecraft every day. And so I said, this is the way to bring the family back. At one point, he had started making A's and B's on all of his tests. And I said, oh, go put this on the refrigerator so when your parents come home, they can see it. And he said, no. They don't care about those kind of things. He knew that he wanted to be involved with him. So when I would go to work, I would text him and say, when you get home, make a big deal about this spelling bee. Make a big deal about the paper that's on the refrigerator. They started to become a family. When I was an administrator at a middle school, it was in South Dallas. We were averaging 28 suspensions a month. That means in the entire month of February, there was a kid being sent home every single day.
Wow.
Not for talking back, but for vaping, for selling vapes. At least 2 or 3 times, we had incidents where boys were in the stalls, had their cell phones under the stall, recording someone else relieve themselves, and they would airdrop it to everyone in the school. That's what was happening at the school where I was an administrator.
Wow.
At some point, I said, okay, it was over spring break. I'm finished with this. God, what's your plan for this school? I decided to do something where I wouldn't ask for forgiveness later. You know how some people, we say, yeah, okay, you see where I'm going? I decided if I get confronted with this, I'm not apologizing. I wrote a letter and sent it via email to all 600 parents in our school. And this is what I did. I apologized that we were not the school they signed up for on our website. I apologized. And then I also said, but here's what's happening. Now, when your child misbehaves at this tier, this is what happens. There's after-school detention. But my teachers aren't running it. You, the parent, you're running it. Because your child did it, and I'm penalizing my teachers by keeping them after school on a Friday. My teachers are no longer doing after-school detention. The parents are doing after-school detention.
Come on.
I didn't ask for permission. That's what had to happen because that was bringing the family back. The families drop off their children and say, I'm so happy they feed them breakfast and snack and after school, and then they have ROTC, and then they do this, and we have them for the majority of the day, and you get them for dinner and bedtime. And that's not fair, but that's the way it's set up. I just want you to know. And so I said, when they hit this tier in the same classroom and they're skipping, parent, you have to come to school. It's a non-negotiable. Do you know I sent that to 600 parents and they all signed it? Except for one parent who said, how do you expect us to be able to do this? I don't know. You have to figure that part out because I'm not asking for permission. This is just mandatory. Do you know that suspensions went down from 28 to 11? And so when we think about...
So it brought the parents back into the dialogue with the children.
Do you know parents were saying, we didn't know we could come.
Wow.
We didn't know we could come into the school building. But that's the way it's designed. But that's why I'm telling you, I want everyone to say demystify.
Demystify.
Now say it with authority. Demystify. The goal is we're up here to demystify what you didn't know you had access to and authority to.
Come on.
You're supposed to be in the school building. You're supposed to be having lunch with your kids in the cafeteria. You're supposed to be in their classroom. You should ask for what the test looks like. You're supposed to see these things. So when we're here and when we're saying we're at the Capitol every day when legislation happens, it's because we're demystifying what we don't know can happen. That's why she's saying you start at the county level and the local level, and then you can work your way to the white horse storming the White House.
That's right.
You can get on that white horse and have your hair swinging back. That's the goal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But we're here to demystify because it shouldn't be a quandary and a conundrum around. What's a precinct chair and how do I go to a GOP convention in San Antonio? And what does it look like to introduce a legislator to my neighbors? We want to demystify that for you.
Now, I want to say this. Here's what I don't want this to do. I don't want this to seem overwhelming to you, okay? I don't want you to think, wow, that seems like a lot of work. I want to tell you something. Because we haven't done any work at all for the last 50 years, we're going to have to press it into overdrive right now, and we're going to have to make up for lost time. You know, we literally are a whisper away from completely losing our children. And I say that to tell you that in Massachusetts recently, they had a child that had decided they wanted to have or to be a different gender, and the parent said, wait, what is happening? This is my child. I think the child was like 10 years old. They literally took the child from the parents because the school was involved with taking the child from the parents. I'm telling you, now we let them enter in, and they're shutting the door, and they're saying, these are not your children. The children belong to the state. That's where we are right now. Now, it's not as bad in Texas, but I'm telling you, we are always one step away from the door of the enemy. We've got to get back involved. We've got to get involved at our local levels. We've got to get involved in our schools. And so what I hear you saying is that it's as simple as this. Parents, don't ever leave any aspect of our children's welfare to any other human being. And that even though you may drop them off, you are there. You are present. You know the teacher's text or cell phone number. You are involved in what's happening in that classroom. You know who their friends are. You know who the friends of their parents are. Here's another thing I just want to say. This has nothing to do with education. It should be a zero tolerance policy as far as letting your children spend the night anywhere ever, forever. They do not spend the night. And it's not that you don't trust the people whose homes it is. You may know them very well, but you don't know who's visiting that home. You don't know what other friends are coming into that home. Most sexual situations happen when people go over to spend the night. Zero tolerance. Keep your kid in their own bed, period. Amen. Okay, so let's pick back up. Education. All right, what do you believe is lacking in the education system?
Spankings. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But I'm not really kidding. I'm not kidding. I'm not joking.
Girl, I was on the receiving end of that board back when they had the board.
A good old
it was
belt.
Me and all the boys.
A good old belt is what's missing. And your voice.
Yeah.
That's what's missing. Your voice is missing. It's literally family. This is demystifying. Everyone say demystify.
Demystify.
So when she's saying what's missing, it's your voice. When you drop your kids off, you can say, can I walk Rodney to class? All they're going to do is ask to scan your driver's license. That's it. See? Yep. That's it. They just scan your driver's license, and then they open those bulletproof glass doors, and they let you in, and you can walk Rodney to class. You can sit in Rodney's class. When I rewrote the policy for the middle school where I was, parents were saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. The administrators were saying, we think we have more parents in the building than we do have kids. That's okay. Sometimes Rodney wants you to come to the cafeteria with him and have lunch.
Wow.
So when we say
So
what's
good.
missing, it's your voice. And kids probably will never have the ability to articulate and say, you know, Mom, when you create structure, I really hate it, but I really feel loved.
Right. Safe.
I feel safe.
Yeah.
So they won't, unless you have a son like my friend Nova, whose son is Luke, and he is just articulate and like just a mastermind. But for the most part, our children are not going to, I say our children because like Tammy here, I've been a foster parent to teenagers. Everybody say, God bless you. That's right. Children will rarely ever say, thank you for what you're doing. This is hard, but I love it. It's growing me. It's maturing me. You may get that as a Mother's Day card when you're 79. I'm not sure. But up until that time, they're rarely going to say thank you. But when you show up, they translate that. Their little brains translate that as they love me.
Yeah.
So you're missing from the education system.
Man, that is so good. All right, I wanna. That's really good, and I love that. Parents, I want to tell you this. How many of you love paying taxes? Raise your hand. Oh, it's just me. John's in the back going, have you lost your mind? I don't love paying taxes, but if I'm going to have to pay taxes, then I might as well benefit from the taxes that I'm paying. So instead of advocating our place in the school system, if instead of now going, okay, I'm going to pay you my taxes and now I'm going to have to pay for private school, wouldn't it be a better idea to get back and to take ownership of these schools again, saying, no, this is the way this is going to go. We have a 100% refusal of anything that doesn't align with our values, and go in there and demand the rights for our children. Therefore, we pay taxes one time a year and it takes care of everything, right? I would rather make my money and keep my money. All right, so I love that. Get back involved in the schools. Now, so we have precinct chair. That's really a key to success as far as living a peaceful life, a prosperous life in Texas. So we've got that. Now, as far as the education system and structure, wouldn't you say that the school board and being a school board member is really what will influence, besides for the family getting involved, would influence the schools more than anything else?
So here's what you need to know. When someone runs for school board, they have their eyes on another elected position. Okay? Their end game is not the school board. They're going somewhere else. Okay, so what they do in your district and your county will then affect your entire state, which is why it's so important to go to school board meetings. In 2022, I went to a school board meeting, and I kind of had some kind of, let's call it a hobby, where I was going to school board meetings from zip code to zip code. And I just really wanted to hear what each district was concerned about. I wanted to learn the camaraderie of the school board. I wanted to learn how they spoke with their constituents, how they spoke to their residents. I really just wanted to know what was happening in McKinney, in Plano, in DeSoto. I was streaming school board meetings before it became popular thanks to COVID.
Wow.
I was just streaming, and my friends were like, Anita, there's help for you. Stop going to school. I mean, my friends were like, hey, we're all going out tonight. We're going to go over here. We're going to go to Fuzzy's. And I was like, are you kidding? DeSoto has a school board meeting. You're going to Fuzzy's and DeSoto has a school board? Are you joking? And they were all like, we can pray. We can pray for you right now. So I was going to school board meetings. I went to one in South Lake, and the parking lot was packed. I should have left my car in Arlington and walked. It was packed. I walked in. There were news camera crews everywhere. And I thought, this is what I'm talking about. Some engaged parents. Let's do this. They were announcing the new football high school coach. And once he made a speech, the entire place emptied out.
Wow.
They were about to start talking about what they were going to put in your textbooks.
And nobody stayed.
And no one stayed. They all were there because Texans love football. We do a horrible job at it, but they were there because Texans love football.
Okay, I wanna interject here because you said they didn't stay for the curriculum. And honestly, I think there was so much about what was happening, the conversation between us and the schools and us and the school boards. We thought we could trust them. We thought, of course, it's going to be just educational. It's like ABCs and math and reading and history. Literally, that's what we have thought all along, that we could trust these people. They're Americans, they're Texans, they love, our kids, football. But that's not true, and we found that out now. Now the game is up, and we know that that's not true at all. So now we're like, okay, how do we take over these school boards?
So there are ways to flip a school board. There are ways you can flip a school board.
Flip a school board!
Yes.
Woo!
Yes.
You take the white horses to a school board meeting.
Can we turn off her microphone just for a second? Just for a second.
It's going to happen.
We're going to do it. We're going to do it, right? We're
Yeah,
going to do it. We're going to do it. You can ride a white horse locally. You can do it even.
I have actually seen in Texas. You'll
Yes.
be in some little small town. I think it was McKinney, and here comes this horse and a cowboy. And
See,
I was like,
that was a vision. That was the Lord. Yes.
yeah, it was. All right, so go ahead. All right, so how do you flip a school board? Well, tell me who has flipped so far.
Keller has flipped. South Lake has flipped. There are counties in East Texas that have flipped. You can flip a school board, and this is how you do it. Everyone say, demystify.
Demystify.
This is how you flip a school board. Everyone raise your hand. You are how you flip a school board. You are how you flip a school board. And you may say, I don't know the curriculum. That's okay. You may say, but I don't even know how long others have been serving. That's okay. If you stack the questions against yourself, you cannot flip a school board. You have to have fire to protect children. That's how you flip a school board.
Come on.
You have to say yes to the Lord. That's how you flip a school board. You have to be ready to lobby. That's how you flip a school board. How many of you have ever told your children, you really should eat those vegetables? Those are good for you. Anyone ever said that? You're a lobbyist.
Hello.
How many of you have ever told your husband, don't go that way, it's this way? How many of you have ever said that? You're a lobbyist. How many of you have ever told your husband, I bought these earrings, now I've got to go get new shoes and a new jacket and a skirt to go with it? You're a lobbyist. You already know how to do it. If you stack the questions against you, you can't flip a school board. So let's make it simple. You're it, and that's all.
Come on.
It's your fire. It's your desire to protect children. In 2022, when I went to those school board meetings, I was in a school board meeting. I forget where I was now because I went to so many, but they had books in the back that were in a library in a school. All the books were pornographic. All the books. Visual imagery that showed boys what to do to boys and girls what to do to girls. Not where you had to say, I wonder what this picture means. It was very clear what the picture meant. When Tammy earlier was talking about House Bill 900 by Jared Patterson out of Frisco, he wrote a piece of legislation that blocks that. Do you know there are courts in Texas trying to block that bill? He is still fighting to make sure it passes. And it passed. Governor Abbott signed it, but there are courts that are saying, oh, our children should be exposed. They need experience. After Governor Abbott signed the bill. So when I was at that school board meeting and I was in the back and I looked at 2 pages and thought, I can't do this. Do you know that night I decided to run for school board? It was that night. Because if not when, it won't happen.
That's right.
There is no, someone has asked me, how do you know when it's time to foster a child? You don't. You just do it. And I did it when COVID happened, and my caseworkers were going, are you sure everybody's wearing masks? We won't wear a mask in my house. Where's the teenager?
Come on, come on.
There is no right time. This is Esther time. This is Deborah time.
Come
this
on.
is JL time.
Come on.
This is time.
Yeah.
When it's time for you to flip a school board, you say yes. You go pick up that thick packet that's intimidating. And then you fill it out. I did this not with a team behind me. I didn't know who was serving on the school board. It's not like I had 3 friends who said, let's all go out for coffee. No, I just said, okay, my name is Anita. I know that part. I know my zip code. I got 2. Okay. All right. I know I didn't have money. It wasn't like I was thinking, I got about $84,000 saved up from my teacher retirement savings. No, I just knew not on my watch.
Come on, come on.
I just knew not on my watch. And so I ran. People say, did you win? Yes, but not on the ballot. This is winning right here.
Come on, come on.
When we are empowering you. So when you say, how do you run? You say yes. Why do you run? Because you have fire. When do you run? Now.
Okay,
Flip
that's
the
so
school
good.
board. You can do it. And then you start going to school board meetings. Do you know my mom and I go to library advisory board meetings? Don't we, Mom? And you may think, that is boring. Do you know what they talk about at library advisory board meetings? Where to place the LGBTQT banners. If she and I aren't there, who would stand up?
Did you say in the trash?
We go to city council meetings. We go to school board meetings. I'm telling you, she's 76, but she's like, I'm putting my shoes on. I'm almost at the car. And I remember one time telling her at a library advisory board meeting, we may have to run when I finish speaking. Was I joking? I was serious. There were heated people. The library advisory board meetings go once a month. City council, go once a month. School board, go once a month and take your kids. These are practical steps. You can DuckDuckGo or Google, whatever. Find out when the library advisory board meeting, go once a month. School board, go once a month. But I homeschool my children. Did I say I cared?
Okay, so write this down. I want you to write this down. Everybody in this room should be doing this. Yes. And again, we say we want change, but we have to be the change that we want. Yes. It is us. Yes. You're holding numbers. We have 3 minutes left. Okay. All right. I've seen these school board meetings. I have not been to a school board meeting. I've watched them online. Good. It's terrifying.
Yes, it is.
And what's terrifying to me is that these are our school board people. Yes. I'm just like, well, did they advertise for bottom feeders? I mean, these people are so mean and rude and hateful, and the things that they're voting for is just heartbreaking for our children. I mean, pornography literally in the school for elementary school children. All right, so if I want to run for school board, what are the first 3 things I have to do? I have to go get the packet. Yes. Where do I get the packet from?
So whatever district you live in, you go to your school's district. I live in Tarrant County, so I went to Arlington ISD, Independent School District. If you live in Coppell, you go to Coppell ISD. If you live in Dallas, you go to Dallas ISD. And it will let you know when school board seats are open.
Now, once they're open, are they open because somebody is moving on, or are they open because they get a certain amount of time?
They get a certain amount of time.
Okay.
They can only serve a certain term.
What is the term?
2 to 3 years.
Is it, okay, it's 2 or 3,
mm-hmm.
or it's different?
Yes, it can be 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
It can be open if they are moving on, or it can be open if they are not seeking re-election again.
I just want you to think about this. If it's 2 to 3 years, what it means for your child if they're in high school. that they are now over that high school and they're going to determine what happens in the high school. This isn't, once you change the school board, you change all of the schools that they're responsible for. This is our play to see a change. You do not have to have children to do this. You have to be righteous before God, holy. We are ascending the hill of the Lord. What is the hill of the Lord? You are mountain molders. If you want to see a change for a generation, we start taking over these school boards and we take these back. Okay? So you gave me 2 things to do. So I find out when they're open.
Yes. You go to your ISD, find out when they're open, and then you start to decide, why am I running? What's the fight? Like when I ran, I said, no gender mod lessons in our classrooms. I put that on there. I said, no critical race theory or similar subjects in our classroom. Because if I left it to just critical race theory, they would say, oh, okay, we can teach the 1619 project. No similar racist subjects. So you decide, what's this fire in me? Why do I want to protect our children? Write down 3 things. Keep it simple. 3 reasons why you want to run. Fill out the packet, turn it in. You actually show up at the ISD building and they will pull your name. And when they pull your name, that decides where your name is on the ticket, where your name is on the ballot. Because there will be I ran in a race, it was 3 of us. It was the incumbent, and it was another lady, and it was myself. So when they pull your name, they said, okay, David, your name will be number 1 on the ballot. Okay, this lady, her name will be number 2. Anita, your name will be number 3. And then that's it. And then you start telling your community, lay hands on me, I'm about to run for school board.
Yes. Okay, all right, so then you go on the ballot.
Yes, and then you're on the ballot.
And so people that go to vote,
yes,
it's usually not during a presidential. It's usually one of these small.
Yeah, they're staggered.
They're staggered. Which, of course, is purposefully making it confusing for everyone
because no one remembers.
You're right,
and then if there's a big runoff, school boards kind of go underground. Nobody really pays attention. Yes, if it's a mayoral election or a gubernatorial, like a governor, nobody's really paying attention to school board. But keep in mind, school board officials have their eyes set on another position.
Okay. All right, we're done, and we're going to ask questions. So, ladies, if you have a question, it's your turn to ask. Keep it pithy.
Real quick, I went to my son's school the other day, tried to go back with him to one of his classrooms, and the secretary said I could not do it. So what do I say if there's opposition to going in the school?
Did you ask her or him why?
I pushed back 2 times and finally got it passed. She kind of had like, okay, go ahead. Just attitude, and so it's intimidating.
That's not on. Her mic is not on.
I can repeat. Her question was, she went to her son's school and wanted to go with him to class, and she got pushback from the assistant or the clerk, and I asked her, did the clerk give an indication for why she could not go? It wasn't very clear, but she finally was persistent, and the clerk let her back through the doors. Excellent. Yes. Persistence matters. And as a mom, she should be concerned about how come I couldn't go through these bulletproof double glass doors.
I would also chime in on that, and I would ask them specifically, where is it written? Where is the written policy that I cannot see my child in class, and I want you to produce that for me? If you cannot do that, if it doesn't expressly state, here in Texas we have what's called negative law, which means if it doesn't expressly forbid you, you can do it. Just saying. Just saying.
Sorry. One thing that we noticed with our kids, we have 4 in school currently, it's really hard to get access to the curriculum, and everything is like we're in no homework school, or they don't send books home, so we don't have access to the curriculum. How do you insist on getting it? Just for the simple reason of like, hey, we want to help our kids if they struggle with something. But I'm in Northwest ISD, if that gives perspective. Any tidbits would be helpful.
I love that. So what I would do is, do you know any other people whose children go to the same school? Like, do you know some other moms? Okay, the reason I say that is because the support network is awesome. Because by law, the curriculum should be online. It should be on their website, by law. In Texas, that's just it. And so if you're not seeing it, by law, teachers are supposed to put their lesson plans online.
Hey.
By law. It's true. It's true. And so if you're not seeing it, you and others can diplomatically and politely ask your teacher, hey, I know that my son keeps talking about this science text next week. Can I just see the lesson plan that you've gone over? Yes. Diplomatically and politely.
Right, and honestly, kindness will get you so much further. Just being polite and generous, and these people are in a battle every day, these teachers.
And I'm going to follow up with that and say that making the verbal request is always great, and the only type of communication that's trackable and verifiable is in writing. What you want to do is build a case. I would encourage you to send an email to your teacher and then request their response in writing, and then communicate with your school board, email the school board, because what we're doing is building a written trackable case, because then you can turn around and go to a school board meeting and say, yeah, I was requesting the information, they didn't provide it for me. And then at the school board meetings, you also want to record in writing what you said, because then we'll do a public information request and we'll blow it out of the water if they don't follow the law.
Come on.
Hi. So I've done the homeschool. I did private Christian. I have a couple in public right now, but I'm from Boston, so like these publics are not like Boston public. So while I feel good with it, my 5-year-old, he's been like diagnosed as being like highly functioning on the spectrum, which I'm not claiming ownership to that because he's going to be healed, whatever. But I had to pull him out of private Christian school because they couldn't give him what he needed. And I feel like with the Christian schools, there's so much opportunity because, like, I don't want to send my kid to public school. Like, I want him learning scripture, like, but I had to pull him out of that. Is there anything in the pipeline or anything? I just want to be enlightened about Christian schools and what they can provide for kids that are not, like, average. You know what I'm trying to say? So my little one, he gets all the services in public school, you know, like the IEPs or the whatever those,
right,
whatever the lingo is. They don't have that in Christian school. So I had to pull him out. I don't want to do that. So I think it's a huge area of opportunity for Christian schools. And I don't know if maybe I just don't know about what's available for them. Like, are there schools that are Christian that offer I know it's like a funding thing and all of that. I'm just a little butthurt that I had to pull him out of Christian school and send him to public.
I love you.
Is that inappropriate? I don't know.
Yeah, come on, man. Get real.
What's your name, friend? Candace, we want to move you out of being butthurt. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Candace, I'm a policy director with the Texas Homeschool Coalition. And so I have two primary responsibilities. One is to write laws that protect homeschoolers in Texas. And the other one is to kill any bill that would negatively affect any child in a public school, private school, parochial school, homeschool. So when Tammy and I are talking about being at the Capitol, that's what I'm doing. I'm lobbying for homeschoolers, and then I'm lobbying for all other children as well. So when it comes to Texas Homeschool Coalition, we actually provide IEPs and 504s on our platform so that you as a homeschool mom can be empowered on how to raise your child academically at his or her pace.
Come on. Now, she's in Boston.
Are you in Boston?
Oh, welcome. I love that. I escaped.
So, and I think to your point, there is confusion for a reason, right? The enemy is working so hard to keep the remnant confused, to not know what's available and accessible. So shame on us for not even being overwhelmed and not knowing where to look and just kind of trusting the government, because we've abdicated our role. And what an incredible opportunity Tracy has provided to open this conversation up. So in one day, in one session, you've got a solution to the challenges.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, praise the Lord.
How incredible would it be if every house of prayer of every church would care enough about their kids to talk about pornography, to talk about the things that the sins and things that aren't working, and provide solutions. So I just have to say props to Tracy. This is incredible.
I love you. Thank you. Right? We'll sleep when we're dead, right? All right. How many more?
Homeschool question, and this might be too involved of a question. I'm part of a lot of groups that talk about vouchers. So obviously, I own a home, I pay property taxes for 10 years. I'm not utilizing because my kids don't go to public school. People have said, let's do vouchers so we can get some of that money back that we're spending going toward public school we're not utilizing. And a lot of people are like, ooh, but then that means now they can get their hand into homeschooling. Is that, I don't know if it's a difficult question, but how either nervous or conservative should we be about, like, yes, we'll take a voucher and get our money back, but can they legally get their hand into, like, here's the curriculum you're required to do, here's what you got to turn in.
Smart girl.
Blah, blah, blah.
You should always be nervous when it comes to the government. Don't ever lean back.
Yeah.
And think, great, I love what they just did. Don't ever lean back. You should be nervous about that. I do want to say, Tammy and I were on a Zoom call recently. We were both talking about vouchers, education savings account, what that looks like from state to state. So currently Texas, this is in 2025 spring session, education savings accounts will be back on the ballot. It will be, it will be a bill trying to be passed. Texas Homeschool Coalition, our job is to bulletproof a bill where if homeschoolers opt into, now I use the word opt into on purpose, because if the bill with education savings account, meaning, I'll just say what that is. Let me just say what that is. That's where the government takes a portion of the funds that would be given to a child at a local public school and reallocates those funds for alternative forms of education. Homeschool, private school, or parochial school, okay? So if your child is going to a public school and you say, I'm ready for Rodney to leave, you can apply for an education savings account, receive the money that Rodney would have been receiving at a public school, and you take that to a private school or a homeschool, okay? It's opt-in. It's not mandatory. So if the bill passes, as a homeschooler, you're not grandfathered into that piece of legislation that passes. You opt into it. I could go into the finite
Now, if
detail.
you opt in, can you opt out?
You can.
Okay.
You can. You can opt in and you can opt out. There are so many finite pieces about it. I could go into how the Texas comptroller named Glenn Hager would be the one who brings in private agencies to make sure the monies are being allocated properly so that people aren't going to go buy a 52-inch TV screen to watch the Super Bowl and say, oh, it's because my child has visual impairment, so we needed this big screen. No, it's not about that. It's not about that. So I could go into the finite details, but what you need to know is, one, always be nervous about the government. Two, it's opt-in. Three is Texas Homeschool Coalition, we read every bill that has to touch education, parental rights, mental health, and children. That's what I lobby for. And so when we're talking about bills that we read, it's to make sure that they're saying, the small print does not say, if this homeschool family opts in, that means they now have to do this. There is no government string that will be attached that we will sign off on or that we will endorse. I'm there to kill bills that will attempt.
Good. That's so good.
That's my job, is to kill bills that make sure the government doesn't say they opted in. Now go to their house and make sure that they're teaching their kids sex ed and that they're doing. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So I could go into the fine out details, but just know, and we can talk even like in the, outside of this, but just know that Texas Homeschool Coalition, Texas Public Policy Foundation, American Federation for Children. I'm naming these organizations because we are a work group and we all read these bills. So it's not just Anita, it's not just Texas Homeschool Coalition, but it's several grassroots organizations that, like she was mentioning earlier, Tammy, several organizations, and we get on a Zoom call every single Monday, and we say, did you read page 9? What do you think page 9 means? And we talk about it, and we deliberate about it, and then we go talk to the legislator. We talk to the legislator, which is why I live in Austin on the odd years, because I'm there at the Capitol every day, and then on the even years, I work from Dallas-Fort Worth, but I'm there at the Capitol every single day. Yeah.
And I think to that point, what's really critical here is that not only when we talk about we work collaboratively with other grassroots organizations, these work groups are happening nationally. So the conversations we're having about the money and following the money, I do get very nervous because I've read the legislation that they tried to get us to buy into regarding the vouchers and school choice. School choice means something different to every single person in here and to every single state. So if your idea of school choice is that you have the freedom to have homeschool, that's great, but understand that they would never just give you the money without expectations on the collection of data, on the collection of everything. So it is really good news that we work collaboratively, not only with us and other organizations, but the greatest minds across the nation, to include the same think tank that was able to overturn Roe v. Wade. So we got good people on it.
So I think, okay, one more question.
Last question.
I feel like as homeschool moms, you can feel like you're safe. Like we are not in public schools, so we don't have to deal with these same things. But actually, I was encouraging my co-op to actually pray for Anita and what she's doing for us and fighting for us. And I had not one single mom who said they would do it. And it really disheartened my heart. And so just wondering like how you can speak into the apathy of homeschool moms.
Ooh. Come on, here we go, girls. Hang on, we love you.
That absolutely is unacceptable in the eyes of the Lord. It's not about Tammy's opinion or Anita's opinion. This is about what does the Word of God say in the Bible. And it specifically says, be hot or be cold, or I will spew you out of my mouth. I don't know about you ladies, but I've had enough trial in my life. I do not need God spewing me out at all. And so what I would say to that is have them go to the Word. Ask them point blank, what does the Word say about that? And that's hard. I get it. But I get to do that every single day when I look at legislators and they claim to love the Lord. And then I said, if you won't vote for this bill, what does the Bible say about it? What does the Word of God say about it? Because it's bigger than Tammy. It's bigger than Anita. At the end of the day, our salvation and this nation is at risk. So if they're not willing to do that.
Yeah, amen. Well, I will tell you, and to that point about homeschool moms, I think that when you run into that, tag your it. Meaning that you have an opportunity, and women, listen to me, as someone who has had to break through a lot of glass ceilings in her life, and especially as a senior pastor in a very interesting city. When you're it by the Lord and you get pushback, that's the time that you realize that there's actually an opportunity for you to say something more and to begin to engage them more, because a no is typically because they don't understand. And so you just keep knocking, you just keep explaining, you just keep engaging. And we've actually, as a church, we've got to get better at encouraging people. That's why the Proverbs 31 woman was so effective, because she had kindness on her lips. And there's something about extending ourselves in love and saying, let me just explain to you, maybe I didn't do a good job, how important this is. And bring them into the bigger picture of what we're facing as families in the earth, and how important it is for every single one of us individually to engage. And so I think just bringing them into a bigger story. So I do challenge you, no is not an answer when it comes to our kids. And we've got to go beyond the shut door and say, wait a minute, why don't y'all come over, because we're gonna have a book club, or we're gonna, just start engaging these women at another level and inspiring them to greatness. Come on.
Have they
All right.
told you why? Have they told you why they won't?
Oh, so you've got one here. I got one. All right, come on. Come on. Well, and again, I think a lot of these things, and I'll just tell you, ladies, here's the thing. There's got to be, again, back to kindness. You've got to make it fun for people. You've got to say, hey, we're going to pray, and then we're going to go have tea. You love tea. You can make them tea, and they'll be like, ooh, dirty water. Or whatever. Again, you make it something that's a little bit, it's got a little pizzazz to it.
And the other thing you might mention to that, having fun, and understand that we have 55 million children currently at risk for being sexualized and being trafficked in the United States today. 55 million children are at risk of being trafficked. Texas is the #1 trafficking of children in the world. So we have to understand that these children's lives are at stake. Period. Full stop. Their lives are at stake.
And remember what I said about the philosophy of the Germans. I didn't speak up because when they were taking the Jews, because I'm not Jewish. I didn't speak up when they were taking the bankers or whatever. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak. So again, if we don't say something, and it really does start with us. When I started a house of prayer, and I want you guys to be encouraged, because the Bible says don't despise the day of small beginnings. When I started the house of prayer, I started it as one person, me, sitting on a couch, and I said, well, this doesn't look like a house of prayer. And he said, well, just pray. So I just began to pray, and I began to pray. People began to show up. And so it does start with one person saying, here I am, God, send me. I need other people to come along as well. And you just begin to pray, and you just begin to love on the Lord, and just watch what he does.
And you know what Tracy just said? That's how grassroots organizations get started. So even in addition to saying, where can I find grassroots organizations? You start a grassroots organization by doing a meet and greet. Have your neighbors come to your house for tea or brownies or gluten-free granola bars, protein bars, whatever it is. And you do a meet and greet. And that's how you can introduce people. That's what precinct chairs do. They do meet and greets.
Yeah.
So that's how you can get a prayer group started. Do a meet and greet to introduce people to what's being discussed in the legislature.
Well, and I will segue into our next segment with something else. Everybody right now has food safety issues, all your neighbors. So all you got to do is say, hey, I got some chickens. I got fresh eggs. I'm planting a garden. Come on, I'm gonna teach you how to plant a garden. Let's all come over here. I brought a friend in. She's a horticulturist or whatever from A&M. We're gonna talk about, composting. I don't know. But everybody cares about that now. Oh, I'm gonna teach you how to make sourdough bread. For the love, I've never seen so many sourdough bread bakers as is happening right now. Do you make sourdough? Oh, look at her.
Okay.
I read legislation.
Are you ready? Okay.
But again, do something. Ask the Lord, I need help. Give me strategy to go out and influence these women. Give me strategy to take this. You are not an island. It is you and God, which is a winning combination. So please, Ask the question, how do I take this mountain? How do I take this mountain? Amen? All right, so Tammy, Anita, brilliant.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes.
Aw. Ladies, wasn't that amazing?
Love you, thank you.
Okay, so what we're going to do,
good.
we're going to take a quick 15-minute break so you can stand up and stretch, go to the restroom, get a drink, and then we are going to rejoin here for the health and homesteading panel. I would encourage you, Tammy and Anita have a space at the table. If you did not get your question answered, please go out. They're going to go out there right now, and you can ask them questions. They'll also be out there after the second panel. So, see you back here in 15 minutes.
What can I bring to you for all that you've done and yet to do? How can I honor you? You've taken my heart and made it new. What can I bring to you for all that you've done and yet to do? How can I honor you? You've taken my heart and made it new. What kind of offering is fit for an overcoming King? We crown you with melodies, unending praises we sing. And not even one comes close. And not even one compares to you. All of creation bows
All righty, let's come on in. If we could cut the music, close the doors. Sahar, can you grab that door, please? Thank you so much. You guys ready? What we're going to do is we're going to put,
Hiya! Your hair looks amazing.
Thank you so much. You have what you need? Okay, perfect. Okay, come on in, come on in. This is so exciting. Dora, could you grab everybody out in the lobby? It's time. Tell them they're gonna be there in the afternoon. Tracy's coming too. Yes, we're crowling. Thank you, Sarah. There they come. Look at. We're keeping the ball rolling. All right, we're doing good. Ding, 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 ding. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Is Tracy coming? I think they opened up the men's bathroom as well so that we had both since there was such a big line. So we have another treat for you. This is going to be a health and homesteading panel. And we searched high and low just to find the right people for this time. And we have today Dr. Kimberly Erb from Coppell, Texas. Woohoo! So many of you know her. And we also have Ashley Grosh with the Farm Life Movement. And she is from Virginia Beach, Virginia. She came all the way to be here with us today. So get ready to be excited and just receive from them. We are going to open it up again the last 20 minutes, so have your questions ready, and then they will have a table after this that you can go visit them, okay? All right, so we're going to have everybody still coming in. Enjoy.
All right, ladies, welcome back. You enjoy your break? Okay, so health and homesteading. I'm very excited about this. Now, as you guys know, my adventure in health and homesteading, well, you may not know this. Actually, in health, it started when I met David and Kimberly Erb, okay? Now, I heard about them because several people were going to their chiropractic clinic and getting adjusted. And when I say adjusted, there were a lot more things that got made straight besides for their backs. And so I began the journey of health because, you hit your 60s and you're just like, wow, things aren't exactly working the way they used to. And so they really did help me to kind of wake up in the area of health. And when I first got to your clinic, Kimberly, you actually interviewed me. Yeah, she kind of like, they measured. They did the exam. Okay, I don't think that's on here. Okay, there you go. So she did the exam. It was terrifying. She was like, wow, you're so crooked. But
making the crooked places straight.
Making the crooked places straight. Amen. So when I went there, you have to understand, I was a donut, Little Debbie eating fool. I mean, there wasn't a dessert I wanted to pass up. Chips were my best friend. I was like, and so they have all of these videos that play. So not only do you go there, this is like an advertisement. Not only do you go there and you get adjusted, y'all know how you used to go in and they pop you and crack you and send you on your way and you're like, high five. And they're like, no, we're a family. And I was like, I don't need another family. Thank you very much. They sat me down and they forced me to watch these videos right? And all these videos were about the human body and health and blah, 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 blah. And so I, did what most people would do. I put the AirPods in, and I just sat there and listened to worship music the whole time. And I was like, I am not going to be, this is a cult. I'm not going to get in this cult, And so I was like, I'm not, la, 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 la. So a couple of times I ran out of battery. And so I kind of listened to some of what the videos were saying. And I was like, what? Wait a minute. What? Our food supply? What? Vaccine injury? What? So I realized that it was the truth. And I was an idiot. And so I needed to get educated. And so that's what I did. As I went there, I really learned a lot about, so they do so much more than chiropractic care. They actually do, they teach you how the body works and the systems in the body and how the body can heal itself. And it was the beginning of my process to living a different kind of life. And now I am so crunchy. I bought Birkenstocks the other day. I used to make fun of all those Birkenstock people. I was like, I'm not getting rid of my stilettos. Anyway.
And you got rid of the Little Debbies, too.
And I got rid of the Little Debbies and the donuts. And, and I don't even miss it, shockingly. Well, now that once you know what's in it, then you go, yeah, it's not worth it. So, anyway, okay, I need to get on with this. All right, so Kimberly Erb, we're gonna talk to you first. So why don't you tell us? I'm gonna read your bio, and then you can jump in and kind of share your testimony and how you became such a beast of a woman who takes care of other people and makes them all healthy. Okay. All right, Dr. Kimberly Erb is a passionate, internationally sought out speaker, and I can tell you that that's true because I know her as a friend, and I just am amazed. A wellness trainer and life coach, she and her husband are the authors of the book Breaking Free from Chemical Religion. Here it is. And Finding Your Way Back to Health. You need to read this. President Trump has read this book. Okay? So this is an amazing book. So many people in influence are getting this book and they're saying, wait a minute, hold on. They're having the same reaction I did. What are you talking about? I can't eat McDonald's French fries and all of this, and understanding what's in our food supply.
And the funny thing about the President Trump reading the book is that he actually takes sound bites from the book and he says them at the rallies and makes them look really good. I'm like, can you please just tell him it's the book here that you're
I know, right?
Like,
I know where that line came from.
From?
You're like, at least, don't plagiarize me. All right, she holds seminars on topics that cover weight loss, brain health, autoimmunity, cancer, hormones, fitness, and much more. She has also appeared on many radio and TV shows and strives to empower people to reach their full potential in every area of life. She holds degrees and certification specializations in chiropractic, neurology, nutrition, pediatric, prenatal chiropractic care, neurotoxicity, whiplash, and traumatology, as well as advanced spinal correction. She and her husband, Dr. David, who's sitting right over there. Stand up, David. Ow, ow, ow! Yes. Have been in practice together for 26 years plus. They have an elite chiropractic. They have been elite chiropractors to the London Olympics, by the USA Wrestling, USA Judo, USA Weightlifting, and Paralympic USA sitting volleyball teams. Okay, I got that right. They've opened a thriving clinic in Zimbabwe, Africa, and are currently operating their Capel and South Lake, Texas offices. They have 3 amazing children and reside in Capel, where they live and serve the Lord faithfully. And I can tell you that when you go to their chiropractic clinic, it's so wonderful because Dr. David is like a pastor in disguise. He will sneak it in, and you get there and he's preaching the gospel and popping you at the same time. He's prophesying and popping you at the same time, and you're like, I feel like I just got a spiritual adjustment too. Yes. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us kind of a testimony. How did you get here? Here's what I love about this. And the reason that I brought women who are mothers, and of course this doesn't apply to you, but it does apply to a lot of women who have changed the world. You don't have to have an education to change the world. But I love that moms are changing the world. Our children don't slow us down. You can still change the world and be a mom, right? So why don't you give us a testimony about how you ended up where you are?
So my story started when I was 16. My dad got into a car accident when I was 16 years old. And, by the time I got to the hospital to see how he was doing, he was alive. I was grateful. He flipped his truck. The cab was ripped off his truck. He had to be care flighted to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, I'm like, okay, I'm grateful my dad's alive. It was bad. And then basically after about a week, we got my dad home from the hospital. And, he said, I'm still in pain. So, we took him back to the hospital. And when we got back to the hospital, they said, we don't see anything wrong with you. Go home. So we take my dad home and we're frustrated, My dad, we get back home, a couple more days goes by. He's like, I'm still in pain. We go back to the hospital. He is in pain. Like, you guys sent us away. And they're like, we don't see anything wrong. After we went back and forth several times, they finally said, this has got to be all in his head. So we're going to send you to a psychiatrist. So we show up to the psychiatrist, and my dad gets put on a drug called Prozac. Now, this was in 1988, and Prozac literally had just come out, a matter of months at that period of time. And so my dad starts taking Prozac, and it was just a matter of weeks later, and my dad actually shoots himself. And, they never sent my dad to a chiropractor. They sent him to someone, said it was all in his head. And so I lose my dad. I'm 16 years old. And it really wrecked me, that experience and being told it's all in your head. And now we know there's black box warnings on them, but we didn't know anything then. So he was just following the directions of what his doctor told him to do. So fast forward, after that experience, I end up meeting this husband and wife chiropractors in my town. And I was like, this could have helped my dad. And so I end up going to chiropractic school. I go here in Dallas, and I meet my husband in chiropractic school, and we get out, we open a practice together. We have the first one here in Capel, and the second one we opened in Zimbabwe, Africa, and then the third one we just opened here in South Lake. So that's kind of been my journey, but my dad was really the precipitating factor why I'm like, I don't want to let anybody else go through what I went through.
Wow. It's amazing to me that what the enemy meant for evil, God turned for good. And so think about how many people you have saved in the process, that while somebody wasn't there to save your dad, that you've actually been the one that has now created a solution for other families, answered the call.
It's the reason why I get up every day.
Wow.
Like every day I meet with so many people, hundreds of people a week that go through our office, and I hear the suffering, I hear the pain. And, here I am trying to, help people prevent this from happening, in their lives. And, after 27 years, you look at the last few years, and I'm trying to help people prevent them from getting COVID.
Right.
And how to deal with getting their immune system built up. And I literally am fighting local big ministry pastors in the area that actually have vaccine centers set up in their churches.
Right.
And so I'm over here trying to help people prevent this, and I feel like I'm coming up against, people of big mega churches.
Right. You're coming up against a machine. Well, I think the reason that I wanted to have a health and homesteading is because we're really fighting right now a system that's trying to poison us. And it's interesting how many people in the body of Christ are so unaware of what is out there and what is actually in our food supply, that we have a compromised FDA, we have a compromised CDC. It's all kind of the good old boys club, the system that is all in it for greed, and it really has nothing to do with health. And in fact, it has to do with payoffs and compromise and all of these things. And so we really got to say, all right, just as it was with the educational process, we've got to take our health back and take control over it for us and our family. And there's so much about this that I'm passionate about, and I research it all the time. I not only have a book addiction, but I really have a supplement addiction as well. And I can tell you that I probably take more supplements than any human on the planet, but I'm also very healthy at the same time.
One of the things that I've loved about the fact that this conference is about reformers, like empowering women to be reformers, is that, like, I've always seen myself as a reformer. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if you think about it, God formed, right? He formed us perfectly.
Right.
He didn't mess anything up. He set us up exactly the way we need to be able to heal from everything. And man came along and did all the things you just said, deformed what God formed with, you know, Monsanto spraying our crops, with, you know, the 5G towers outside, with the text, the texting on the phone and the text next, and the sitting is the new smoking. We're just so sedentary. We got the GMO food.
Never go outside.
Right. And so man has deformed what God has actually formed, and we're here at this time, in this hour, with the assignment to reform things back the way he originally intended in the first place.
Right.
And so that's our assignment. Like, that's our job right now.
Well, one of the things I loved about coming into your office, I mean, I hated, but then I understood, was the education aspect of it. I thought you were trying to brainwash me. And you actually were.
I kind of was.
You were body washing me. And that's really, it all really starts with realizing that you've been lied to. Yes. But you don't know you've been lied to until somebody comes along and tells you the truth. And you know the truth when you hear it. You're like, wait a minute, that's actually true. What sugar is actually poison. It's not just a sweetener. It's actually poison. Seed oils. I mean, the list is so comprehensive. So what would you say are the top 5 things that we would have to get out of our diets in order for us to live a healthy lifestyle?
Well, when we talk about nutrition, I mean, as far as health, I mean, there's 5 things really that we teach, 5 essentials that we teach in our office. But, you know, the first one's the spine component. So, bring your body back into alignment, right?
Right.
And so that's the first thing. That's the chiropractic piece. The second piece is nutrition. There's a bunch of steps in nutrition.
Let me stop you on the spine. It's like the superhighway.
It's the superhighway. That's right. You know,
it's
God put all the power.
Right.
God put all the power in your brain, and as long as that power can travel down the superhighway and exit the nerves to all the organ cells and tissues, then you can heal from everything 100%. Like, there's nothing that your body can't heal from. In fact, that's the reason why in our office we've seen MS go away. We've seen cancers go away. We've seen diabetes heal. Like, there's really nothing in our office that we haven't seen heal. And I'm not going to take any of the credit for that. Like, it's not me. We say we move the bone and God does the healing. So we let the body, we bring the body back into alignment the way God designed it, so that then the body can actually heal itself the way it was designed to. So my part is just to move the bone and put it back where it's supposed to be, the way God created it in the first place.
Right, because it opens up the nerves so that the nerves can then talk.
Yep, they can talk.
Nerves have to talk. They have to say, hey, liver, okay, you need this to start working again, right?
That's exactly right.
Simplified version.
No, that's exactly right. You said it right. She took my job away from me right there. She said it right. That's exactly right. Yep, that's it. And so the second one is nutrition. Like, that's what we teach in the office is nutrition. And there's a whole lot of things with nutrition. One of the things that we like to do is give visuals for people, because I feel like visuals really help people. So in our very first office that we opened, we actually bought a McDonald's cheeseburger and some French fries. And we have the bag, and we stapled the receipt on the outside of the bag. And the receipt is from May of 2007. May of 2007. And the burger and the fries look the same as they did in May of 2007. So, when you go to, clean your car and you see that French fry that's kind of sitting behind the seat that's been there for a year, like it could be there a really long time. So we like to show visuals. Like if the mold doesn't like it, your body's not going to like it either. You know,
Right.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't care.
It's not
So
providing
it's
any
not providing
nutritional
any
value.
nutrition. So we like to show visuals in the office. I even have, you know, the another visual in the office where, you know, because this book is about chemicals, breaking free from chemicals and finding your way back to health. You know, the worship of chemicals is what we've seen over the past few years. And so we have a drug jug in the office. And so patients, you know, they'll come in and they'll find healing in their body, and then they no longer need the drugs that they have been indoctrinated to believe that they needed to be able to function, and they throw their drugs away. And I'm talking about these medications are costing them thousands of dollars a month. And so talk about getting free from bondage, that bondage right there. So we like to have visuals in the office for people to kind of really set them free.
So can you speak to the chemicals that so let's say prescription drugs. I didn't quite understand this when I was starting on my journey. When I take a prescription drug, I'm actually taking something into my body that my body does not recognize, right?
Yeah, the thing is if God meant for you to have antibiotics, he would have built them in the system. If he meant for you to take an aspirin every day, he'd have built it in the system. Like, that's not how God designed it. That's not God's best for us.
So your
is there
body
a time for an emergency?
So all of these secondary effects is a response of your body saying, this is a foreign substance that doesn't belong here. Is that right?
That's exactly right. That's the side effect. Every single prescription medication has a side effect, period. That's it.
Now, in emergency situations, we get that.
Different story.
If you break an arm, okay, we get it. If you have to have, you know, you're in a car accident, we get it. Trauma care, that kind of thing. But when it comes to just day to day being healthy, there are alternatives to helping you that is not prescriptive.
That's exactly
right.
That
work. That really
work. That's exactly right.
And that have been hidden.
Exactly. Speaking of the word demystify, like I feel like it's the whole natural healthcare industry, it's funny. It's been like something hidden. You know, they're trying to hide so much from us. And it's interesting, you know, thinking about all of the commercials on all the television shows that you watch. What are they? They're all prescription medication commercials.
Which is incredible. And then the guy comes on, the tagline right before it ends, the guy that talks really fast like it's a used car salesman, and also you're going to have all of these. You're going to near-death experience. You're going to have diarrhea for the rest of your life. You're going to have migraines. But don't worry, take this medicine for your broken fingernail or whatever. I don't know.
It's exactly right. In fact, you know, if you think about it, we see in pictures. So when they show those ads, you're looking at the picture of someone who's skipping along and there's butterflies, right? And meanwhile, there's someone speaking in a monotone voice that says, like, your liver's going to explode in your chest and you're probably going to drop dead of a heart attack. And so I teach my kids, you know, whenever a commercial comes on, if you didn't have the ability to fast forward to it, I teach my kids to point to the television screen and say, lies, lies, lies.
That's awesome.
Because that's what it is. It's all lies. I don't want my kids to be indoctrinated.
Yeah,
I'm going to have control over that.
It's all the fine print.
For sure, yeah.
All right, so health. So health. The second is health.
So bring the spine into alignment. Get the nutrition under control.
Nutrition.
Eat God foods, right? What are God foods, right? It's the God vegetables, the fruits. It's the grass-fed and grass-finished meats. It's the chickens that you've got running around your yard
that eat worms and bugs. All right, but I want to speak to that for a minute. Now, Ashley is our farmer, and I have had to relearn. Now, my grandmother was a gourmet Southern cook. She's written her own cookbook. I mean, it was just next level. You go to her house. Everything she made was with seed oils, non-organic, but boy, she had fried that chicken up and the gumbo and all the stuff, right? So I learned how to cook Southern meals, you know, big cook. John can tell you I love to cook, okay? I had to relearn how to cook. Yes. I had to go in and research all of these different ways and different ingredients that I had to substitute. And it took me about 2 years how to learn how to do this. And okay, so I'm going to just jump over here for 2 seconds. We haven't stopped on you. I'm just pausing, okay? Ashley is a faith-based functional medicine practitioner and regenerative farmer and educator. So when it comes to growing food, when it comes to all of these different ingredients, can you speak to that and tell me a little bit about your journey and how you ended up arriving where you are?
So for me, it's more of a story about freedom. So food freedom, health freedom, pretty much the same thing. I call homesteading food freedom. Let's just call it a new term. Do I need to go closer?
Go closer, yes.
Okay. I don't
There
like
it
the
is.
microphone.
Feels funny, but it actually works really well.
So the word freedom is really important to me because when I was, actually I'm from Arlington, by the way, even though I'm a Texan. I just went into the Navy when I was 18. Woohoo, oh, yay. Okay, good, there's one. Yay. Okay. I went to the Naval Academy when I was 18 to flee the coup and went to an all-male school, pretty much. And that's kind of where the word freedom started to change for me. When you join the military, you swear an oath to your country and you swear an oath to lose your personal freedom as a result. So as soon as you report, they start jabbing you with all these vaccines, they start telling you what to wear, what to do. And so that was my first adult encounter, was being in the Navy. So let's continue on about freedom. When I got out of the Naval Academy, I was 22 years old, report to a ship, division officer, go ahead and lead people. And about a month later, our first deployment was for Hurricane Katrina disaster relief. And I was like, wait, what? What are we doing? Well, we're the first people there because no one can get there by car, so the ships are going. And you're going to clean out the houses with bodies. You're going to clean the bodies out. And you're going to mark on the outside of the houses how many bodies you find for FEMA. And FEMA will be there later. And there's a mental health practitioner that you have to consult with every day when you come back to the ship, and a chaplain. And I was 22. So we were down there for a month, and it was atrocious. There were still many miracles that I witnessed while I was there. Okay. Second deployment. I'll get to that one for my testimony about freedom. So along the way on my Navy career, I met my husband at a triathlon because I was on the Navy triathlon team. So I was training, and I was training for an Ironman, and I met my husband in an Ironman. So we got married, we had our first child, and I thought, I can be a mother and be in the Navy at the same time. I've got this. And they said, okay, well, good for you. So my first pregnancy, I said, I don't want to go to the hospital for a birth. And they were like, you have to. You have to go to the military treatment facility for your birth. And I said, but I don't want to. They said, you have to. I said, but I'm not going to. And they court-martialed me. Yeah. So then the head OBGYN of the Naval Hospital had to write a letter and say she's the low-risk pregnancy. She can have her baby in midwifery center. And I did. Then I had a baby. 4 months postpartum, you have to go back to your ship. Like, what? Yep, back to your ship. Okay, back to my ship I go. About 2 weeks after I went back to my ship, we weren't out at sea. I had my son's first shots of vaccines, and he reacted to them dramatically. Very bad, very bad. And I still had to go to work every day with a sick baby at home. We're talking like sick, not like fever sick. After that, it was like no more smiling, no more eye tracking, no more of my child. Gets better. So Paul and I, my husband's Paul, we're trying to navigate this with the medical system that can't help us. They did report it to the CDC. That's great. About a month later, my ship said, we're going on deployment in 2 weeks. And I was like, wait, what? Yep, you're leaving on deployment in 2 weeks. I'm like, I have a sick baby at home. They're like, it doesn't matter. You're going. He had never had formula, never had solids, nothing. And I left. I had to. Paul stayed home with the baby. We had an amazing Mennonite family. Thank you, Lord, for them that helped. I pumped a bunch of milk. I took my breast pump because I was really trying to figure this out. and I pumped every 4 hours on my ship and dumped it to try to continue breastfeeding when I got home. So we were supposed to be gone for 6 months, right? It's about 6 months. Were you surface or air? I was in aviation. Yeah, air. Okay. So 6 months, we're supposed to be gone. 1 month in, I wouldn't leave my bed. I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't do anything. And so they had to send me home. So they medicated me enough to stabilize me, to send me home. And I, entered the treatment for PTSD with a sick baby at home. So freedom for me was defined in a different way as an adult, entering the world to try to serve people and solve people's problems, because women are wired to hope and to heal and help and heal. So I was really contorted with that. This is hard to talk about, so I'm sorry. I don't tell this story very often because it's a little tricky to navigate.
You're doing great.
Thanks. I usually tell it in little nuggets, and then you get a summary over time. It's a little easier for me. Things just got really bad from there for a long time. We got fired from our pediatric office for not vaccinating anymore. I was like, well, obviously I'm not going to do that. And I couldn't receive care for my mental health properly because I didn't want medication, or my son. So for the next 10 years, things were very rough helping him. I got out of the Navy about 2 years after that. Because I didn't want to take medication for PTSD, I became an advocate. So I started writing to Personnel Command in Tennessee on behalf of all women. And if naval officers have anything we can do, we can speak up for the other sailors in the military, for women. And I started writing technical papers about breastfeeding and breastfeeding and AAP and WHO. And I was writing all these technical papers, and I flew down there. And in a span of 3 to 4 months, they changed Navy policy where women could stay on their shore duty after they had a baby for a year.
Wow, that's so good. Come on.
Yeah. So that actually ended up being my treatment, really self-treatment for PTSD, was I'm going to use my pain for something good. I'm not taking those medication. That's not happening. And neither is my son. He's not taking anything. So I got out of the Navy a couple years later, had 3 more children at home, and moved to the country and built a compound. There we go.
Yeah, that's one way. Let's get out of the system.
Freedom was back. Game on.
Now, tell them how many chickens you have.
300?
Shelby, where are you? Shelby's 25. She's on the way.
It's called chicken math.
Yeah, chicken math.
It's like a compound.
My husband keeps telling me, Tracy, it only costs like $6 for a dozen eggs instead of the thousands of dollars we've spent on these chickens. I was like, but our eggs are more healthy.
So kind of fast forward, because I don't want to talk too long about that. I homeschooled all my children for 10 years to help my oldest son heal. And he's now almost 17 years old, and he's doing wonderful.
I've met him.
He's
amazing.
He's a sweet, quiet young man, and he's never been on any medication. He has never we received a diagnosis because that wasn't serving us. Just personally speaking, it wasn't helping us. And he is thriving. But what happens with those types of layers of trauma and poisoning he has no wiggle room for chemicals now, and that is a huge blessing for him. And he will see that later probably in life. But for now, he's a little like, why can't I get away with this? So that's the reason why I became a regenerative farmer and functional medicine practitioner, because the weave of the two is where the solutions are found. Yeah. In your soil, in your ecosystem at home, being together as a family, doing hard work together, whether you want to or not.
So I want to speak to that and I want to take us on, again, let's get a 40-mile up viewpoint, okay? So humanity did all of their own farming and grew all of their own food until 100 years ago. Okay, so that began the practice of that with the Industrial Revolution and everything. They took that away from us, and they began to have farmers that were separated from the jobs that everybody else did. But everybody was a farmer. And there's so much that has been lost in this generation from the time of like World War II on, that we've lost the secrets to how to live and prosper off of the land. And there's something actually very spiritual when you garden yourself, you grow your own food, you dig your hands in the soil. I mean, there's a health process that happens spiritually, physically. You're grounding, you're in the dirt, you're connected deeply with creation, and it actually helps us to thrive as humanity. So this idea of going to the grocery store for things is actually very short-lived. It was not refrigeration. Isn't even now we appreciate the comfort of it, but again, we are addicted to comfort, which has separated us from all of the things that we need in life to really prosper, you know? So not all of the things, but a lot of the things that we need to prosper. So getting back to the origins of creation is part of what these two women are really offering to all of us in how we live our lives. So I love what you're doing. I want to go back. I want to pivot again, and I want to go back to number 3. So number 1, chiropractic care. Number 2.
So number 1, chiropractic. 2, nutrition. 3, your mindset. So that's where we get the opportunity to bring Jesus into the adjusting room. That's what you were saying about my husband. Like, we equip our team, our entire team. We hug all of our patients multiple times, and that's just bringing love, bringing the love of God to people, and pray for people.
Yeah, you have the hugging chiropractic.
It's a very huggy office. Yes, it is.
I was like, oh, okay, we're doing this. That's awesome.
That's right. Yes. So the 3rd is mindset. The 4th is to move. Move your body. Like, we need to move. We are designed to move. We are way too dang sedentary. And 5th is minimizing toxins. Just like, she was talking about with her son not having very little threshold for any toxins. We're basically there across the planet right now, because everywhere you look, we are inundated with poison. I don't care. It is a planned attack to poison us. And so getting us back to what you just said, getting our hands in the dirt, getting us back to, the way we were designed to, that's exactly it. One of the things I see, with what we do in our office is that the reason why, people are not able to serve the Lord with the capacity or even the heart's desire that they have is because health conditions are what keeps them from being able to do that.
I want you to hear this. This is the temple where the Holy Spirit lives. And he's like, seriously? You're going to put this in my house? So we have to really understand the importance of health care is also spirit care. And so she's right about capacity. And I found that whenever I get sluggish, it's not what's happening on the outside, it's what's happening on the inside.
If we can get people to learn how to live these 5 essentials that we teach in the office, then more people will be able to stop focusing on themselves, and they can then in turn around and focus on what it is that God's called them to do. What is the assignment? Because this is the hour. Like what you've been talking about, like this whole day, like the assignment that you have on your life. If you have an assignment, but you have a health condition that keeps you from fulfilling the assignment, we are not going out and we're not reforming anything. And so that's why it's so important for every one of us to really make sure that we're paying attention to get your spine in line so that, the system that God set up to heal you in the first place can do its job.
Right.
So get your spine checked. Go out and make sure you're paying attention to your food and read the dang labels. Don't go through the drive-thrus that have the crappy, McDonald's and the Whataburgers don't stop doing that.
And Chick-fil-A is not healthy.
No, it's not.
No, sorry.
No. Stop doing those things. Start learning how to do exactly what she's talking about learning how to, grow your own food. Read your labels. Stop participating in genetically modified. You vote with your dollars. And so all you have to do is look at someone's checkbook to see exactly what they value. Look at their checkbook, you'll see. And so stop participating in giving money to things that are actually intentionally meant to kill us.
Right.
And then get out, move your body, and look through your personal care products. Look through your cleaning products. I mean, bleach is not good. You clean your countertops with bleach, and then you make a sandwich for your kid, and then that bleach soaks into the sandwich, and then you send your kid to school with bleach in the sandwich. Like, that's not good.
Right.
And so we have to look at the full picture, so that if you really mean that you are ready for the assignment that God's called you to, then you have to look at yourself first to make sure that you're ready and you have the health ability to go out and answer the call that he has on your life.
That's so good. And I will tell you that after putting into practice a lot of what the herbs taught me, what I found is that I'm never sick now. And I say I'm never sick. I actually, this past year, got really sick from spike proteins. Shedding. Yeah, shedding is a thing.
Yep, we're seeing
shedding
a lot
is
of
a
that.
thing. It's
Yep.
on the CDC
Yep.
website. They're admitting to it.
Yep.
It's a thing. So when you're around vaccinated people, they shed on you.
We saw that in the live blood. Like the
Yeah,
live blood
you
microscopy.
do the live
Yep.
blood.
So yep.
My blood looked like I had been vaccinated and boosted, because I'm praying for people all the time. I'm hugging people, all this stuff. So I had to go through the whole process of detoxing. But I did it. No, I'm not going to take any pharmaceuticals for this. I'm going to cleanse my blood in a very healthy way. And so it took me about 6 months. And I want to encourage you in this. Not only do you need to learn I follow people on Instagram. I'm looking at these YouTubes. What do I do at night? Do I watch all these stupid movies by Hollywood stars who are, sacrificing children? No. That's right. What I do
Amen.
is I look at these health videos, and I'm like, that's amazing. And again, it's finding keys to health and what do you call it? Biohacking. So I'm biohacking myself and my family and my friends, and I'm always, black seed oil. When I was doing this whole process, I was asking the Holy Spirit, what's the best way for me to cleanse my blood? And you know what he said to me? Black seed oil. I'd never heard of black seed oil. How many of you ever, it's just not like, okay, everybody here. Everybody else knew about it. I love y'all. Y'all are all my new best friends. The Holy Spirit knew. I didn't know. But anyway, it's disgusting, but it works. So now I do that every day. I do it every day. So, again, it's part of just finding some of the videos that I watch. Barbara O'Neill from Australia. That woman is a gift, right? I don't know if she's Mennonite or what she is, but she's rocking those homeschool blue jean skirts, I'll tell you. Gary Brecka, I follow him as well. He is also somebody that's a biohacker. So you find these people and you begin to say, all right, how can I recreate the food system in my own house? How can I grow my own food? I'm telling you, you gotta churn up that backyard. I love the perfect lawns that we all have. But I'm telling you, when I say it's not going to get better, what I mean by that is it's going to get worse.
Yep.
Okay? So you've got to prepare for your family. You've got to start learning about farming. That's why I felt like it is critical that we bring Ashley in, because we've got to learn about this regenerative farms. And I will tell you that the gateway drug is chickens. You get a chicken, and then you're going to be like, I got to get a garden. And you actually start to take on, I bought Carhartt. Now you have to understand, I am such a girl's girl. I am stilettos all day long, every day. I bought Carhartt overalls, all right? And I rocked them. I'm like, I look so good. And I understand farmers better when I wear them because I get it. Right? I'm telling you, it's not about what you do, it's about what you wear while what you do, right? I was like, I identify with the earth now. So you have Carhartt. She does. All right, you have to jump in here because what did you get first? Was it the chickens or was it the garden?
I thought you were going to ask about the outfit.
Or the outfit? Which was it?
I think I did both at the same time.
Okay.
I was just ready to go.
Yeah.
But I will say chickens are the gateway. But if you live in a neighborhood where you can't have chickens, then you'll have to skip that part for now until you have good neighbors and you can figure that out.
No, I live in a neighborhood. They said I could have 4, so I got 7. Because, again, I'm kind of a rule breaker. I was like, well, let's just see if they complain. I mean, how are they going to know, really? You know, they all make the same amount of noise. But my neighbors all know what's happening now. And free eggs, I mean, I'm telling you, it's a way to be kind. And they start having those eggs, and it's like, oh, my gosh. I have a farmer next door, and then you give them free veggies and all the stuff. So okay, so go ahead. So the gateway was the chickens, and then you started getting into farming. So talk to me about that, because for me, it's like, how do I even begin? It's such a hard thing to start, in my estimation. What would you recommend as I don't know anything about farming. All I know is about shopping at the mall. But how do I shop? The first time I went to a feed store, it was like I walked into another planet. Like this old crotchety guy behind Sam can tell you. And I asked him a question, and he started yelling at all of his old crotchety friends who I guess they don't work because they all hang out at this feed store and just sit around and chew on straw or whatever. And I was like, so I asked him a question about corn. I wanted to plant corn. And so I went and I asked him where the corn seeds are. Where's the packet for the corn seed? And he died laughing because there's actually corn kernels right there. I didn't realize that corn kernels were corn seed. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, Hank, we got a live one. So every time I go in there, I'm mocked. But I refuse to stop going to this little old crankety, crotchety man who mocks me. But anyway, so how did you start? And there are feed stores. There are feed stores out there that you can go to. I just want you to know. It's weird. It's weird.
It's like going back in time when you go to a feed store.
They have not evolved at all.
No. They just sit around. I would say the best starting point is a small raised bed garden in your backyard, even if you have land. Because at the end of the day, the closer the garden is to your actual home, where you can go out really quick and cut some cilantro or cut some lettuce in the middle of cooking, is very meaningful and important. So I may have all these acreage, but I still have a beautiful kitchen garden right beside the farmhouse. And the beautiful part's important too, that will encourage you to go out there and frequent it and pray, and it's a wonderful place to pray. So just a small container garden. If you have a balcony with some sun, just start with a container garden. Yeah,
you can get a tomato
just throw
plant.
Seeds in there.
Yeah,
that's how I learned. I mean, I did go to school for permaculture, but outside of that, I would have just, in hindsight, put some really good mushroom compost and soil blended into a raised bed and thrown seeds in little squares and seen what happened. Just watch what happens. And then just observe and just let it grow to finally being a massive garden one day.
What's fascinating to me is that you put a seed in the dirt and it grows. You're like, it is truly the mustard seed. It's so parabolic. And you're like, and it's growing. And you're right about the flowers. You add the flowers in, and then you've got all the flowers mixed with, and then you've got the bees, and then you've got the butterflies, and the chickens are roaming around. My grandchildren go running out into the garden, and I'm like, Grandma, get me a tomato. And they see the connection between God's creation and the dinner table. And it does something that it connects us all back to God in such a meaningful, generational way. And once you realize, I mean, I walk out there and I'm like, I'm a farmer. I'm a farmer. And just to say those words, I'm a farmer, it really does do something for your heart.
Well, I remember I do camps on the farm, and years ago, a kid was there and his mother, and I said, they're welcome to forage through the garden. These are all edible, nothing poisonous. And she said, oh, he won't eat any vegetables. And I was like, okay, well, I have them for the next 4 hours, so we'll see what happens. See you later. And that boy got down on his hands and knees and like mowed it down, the lettuce. He was like eating the lettuce. I was like, you can pick it with your hand. He was like,
That's crazy.
Talk about like primal wiring. He was like, I need this. So, I mean, take the power struggle out of eat your veggies and just tell them to go out to the garden. It's good to go. And we did that for years because it's normal for children to be a bit picky when they're younger. It's a survival instinct before food science existed. Don't eat that poisonous berry. That's normal. So,
wow.
It's very normal. We have, oh, my kid's picky. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm a mom. I'm doing something wrong. No, you're not. Your child is wired to try to be safe. And before around 10 and prepubescent, they're not going to go out and eat a bunch of, that's the wiring. And so when you grow a garden and you teach them again what's safe and not safe in the food production system, that's just woven wisdom.
You know, it's very interesting you say that because the Dirty Dozen, just knowing what fruits and vegetables get sprayed the most. Even when I bring home organic, I'll soak them. And what do you recommend? Of course, you probably grow all of your own fruits as well, but what do you recommend soaking your vegetables in order to get any kind of residue off of them in the purest form? Do you have a product that you like?
I do vinegar and a touch of baking soda. I think that's probably the most classic remedy, but there's vegetable washes out there too that are pretty clean. Yeah, but I always encourage to try to eat in the season. And so you may not need to wash frozen fruit, perhaps, when you start adopting that. What you would do instead is, say right now, I'm a strawberry farmer, one of my farms. I have 2 farms now. One is my homestead and food freedom compound, and the other, the other is a very public-facing agritourism farm, because I am the only regenerative farm in my area growing produce. And so I bought a corner 2 years ago, because the Holy Spirit told me to, for $1.5 million.
Wait. Say that again, how much?
1.5 million, 3 acres.
For strawberries?
For a farm store, learning farm, and strawberries.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then emptied my bank account to build all the things for it. So that was, but where was I going with that? I was trying to.
Oh, strawberries.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling pain. So what you would do instead, right now it's not strawberry season, so if my children want to eat strawberries, we'll go to the grocery store and we'll buy organic frozen strawberries instead. And I just say, we're not eating fresh strawberries until it's strawberry season. They're not, that's not available to us nutritionally right now, even organic. And we've just gotten used to it, because when they harvest strawberries, and they'll freeze them immediately. So they're picked in the season and they're frozen, and the nutrient composition is going to be better. So it's good, better, best, right? So in season or frozen and organic, right? And just say, we're not eating fresh strawberries and blueberries until it's in season. They'll be fine.
Okay, there's something I do want to talk about, but I have to write it down. All right, so I want you to tell everybody. So the first step is to get a garden that's close to your house. Something that's, in the raised garden type category, which, by the way, that's how I started. My first garden was there, and then I was like, this isn't enough. It's not good enough. I need more. And so just going out, and I actually had so much food, and people around here will tell you, if you haven't had a homegrown tomato, it tastes like a tomato. And nothing, even the organic tomatoes don't taste this way. I mean, it is so beautiful, and it really is. And you can see the texture and the color of it. It's almost purple. It's so beautifully red. The cucumbers, the same with the cucumbers. I mean, the peppers, everything is so vibrant. The herbs, you know, being able to have your own fresh herbs. Really, ladies, this is, if we're going to take care of our families, we've got to start now gardening. And I will tell you, listen to my heart on this. There is coming a day and an hour that is fast approaching where we're not going to be able to buy and sell. Okay, we need to feed our own families. We have to learn how to do this today. It's March, okay? It's the end of February. You are going to plant, what are you going to plant in March? Okay, we're in Texas, yeah.
So you would do your cold weather, cooler weather, your lettuces, your brassicas, broccoli, cabbage, etc. I can't remember how long the cool season runs, but you can just look up cool season fruits and vegetables on the, whichever, yeah. And then when it jumps overnight to hot weather, you can throw cucumber seeds in the ground and start doing tomatoes. So you do want to have some seasonal rotation with the temperature fluctuation, but there is some crossover to that.
And there are books that you can buy that are specifically for Texas. What is the name of the big Texas guy? Neil Sperry, right? Neil Sperry. You can get his book. I've got his book. It's a great resource to have. By the way, I also encourage you to get as many books, not apps and not stuff online. You're going to have to get books on regenerative farming, which basically is just a current word for farming the way Grandpa used to farm. All right?
Original farming methods.
Yeah. And so a lot of these old ancient way books that you can find on farming, on how to herbs that and tinctures for healing. I mean, we're going to have to go get, I'm going to be canning. It's just like I've become my grandma. No, my grandmother didn't can because she was a blackjack drinker and a chain smoker, so she wasn't a canner. I was like, why aren't you like the other grandmas? She was like, well, you can't drink and smoke. I thought, okay, grandma. But other grandmas, not my grandma, but you know, canning. And so we're going to have to start doing all of that. And you're like, how am I going to find time for this? It is an absolute, you don't have time to spare to do the other things. We're going to change the world, but we've got to learn how to take care of our family and farming.
Well, and look into the Amish community for some of their books. One of my favorite books by the Amish community is Be Your Own Doctor. Write it down. Let's all write this down.
What's it called?
Be Your Own Doctor. I think it's How to Be Your Own Doctor, but you'll find it. And it'll probably be $1 because it's 30 years old and written, you know. And Carrots Loves Tomatoes.
Carrots Love Tomatoes.
25, 30 years old. Such a good book. That might be all you need, actually. Because it's companion planning, so you can learn how to build an ecosystem in your garden where you don't have pest issues. You maximize nutrient density with the ecosystem. But yes, there are more books than that. We can talk after. I could keep talking about books for a long time.
That's awesome. All right, so the first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to get my own box to put a garden in. Okay, so that's kind of your first step. What would you recommend? Because I didn't know this. There's spring planting and there's fall planting. And there's summer planting like watermelon and cantaloupe. And so you kind of go along, and what are some of the best ways to do it? Do you recommend seeds or seedlings?
That actually depends on the plant. So I do actually have a garden design idea on my website so that you can learn which vegetables and fruits are best grown direct sow or transplant, so DS or TP, and you're welcome to go. It's just a free resource for you. It's also a pretty kitchen garden design that you can just copy. And my website is thefarmlife.com. Thefarmlife.com. And because it really does depend on the plant. If you try to put a tomato seed in the ground, it's going to take a long time to grow, but you can put a cucumber seed in the ground and it'll sprout up in a few days and be ready for harvest within 4 weeks. So it is important to learn the backbone of starting your seeds, which ones start in the winter and which ones you can just throw in the ground and say a prayer and you know that'll be great. and you need to say prayers over all of it, but you really do need to learn the difference.
And worship. Over
yeah.
Like play worship over your plants.
Well, and this is one thing that I started my strawberry farm, and all the other farmers were like, you're crazy. You're not spraying. You're not using plastic. You're not tilling. And I said, I'll tell you what my fertilizer is. Do you want to know? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, prayer. And they're like, what? I'm not kidding. And I've talked about this on social media. I walk all 50 rows or 200 feet long. I try to walk them every day, praying over my plants. Now, that's not to say I don't put like worm poop and humic acid, and nutrients in my soil, but it is very important that we understand where that food is coming from and whose glory it's for.
Yeah.
That is so important. We cannot bypass nature with conventional ag. It is trying to bypass it all.
Come on.
And that's not happening. Not on my watch.
Come on. Come on. That's supernatural gardening right there, 101. All right, so I do want to address one more thing. Can you, Kimberly, can you speak to seed oils and sun tanning lotion? Okay, so one of the things that I have discovered in my adventure of late night YouTubing is that if you eat seed oils, then you're going to need suntan oil. Sunscreen. Sunscreen. Okay, that's what I meant. Okay, so eating seed oils, it actually will change the melanin, right, in your skin. So that's why we're getting burnt when we go out in the sun. God did not create our skin to be burnt by the sun. Okay? Seed oils, when you eat seed oils in your food, like if I go out to a restaurant, I'm like, what are you cooking this in? And if they say seed oils, I'm like, I'd like for you to cook this in a different, either olive oil or some other tallow or something, so that it doesn't affect my skin. Now, I've changed my whole family. We're seed oil free, including the chips that we use, and I'll give you guys a recommendation for that. But what it's done is we never, dermatologists will die when I say this, we never wear sunscreen. Because it's poisonous for your skin and it will cause skin cancer. Those that are getting skin cancer, it's not from God's Son that He created in perfection. It is because you're eating seed oils in all of the food supply, and it's causing you to be burnt when you go to the beach. I never wear, even when I go to the beach, I do not wear it. The other thing I don't do, I don't wear sunglasses. Okay. If you don't eat seed oils, you don't need sunglasses. It's not going to affect when you wear sunglasses, the eyes were created when you get out in the sun, right? They change and they will cause your body a protective covering to come over your skin because your pupils will adjust to the sun so that it protects the skin from anything having to do with burning rays. I know. It's something, right?
Yeah, and does everybody know what seed oils are? We're good here? Raise your hand if you don't. Oh, okay. Well, I did post a reel about this a couple weeks ago on the Farm Life Movement page on Instagram and Facebook if you want to read more so we can keep moving. But their industrialized seed oils would be your cotton, safflower, sunflower, soy, vegetable oil blends. Really, the only not canola.
It's all bad.
Even organic sunflower oil.
It's
very
just
important.
Petroleum
even organic
products.
Yeah, even organic.
It is petroleum products.
Yeah. So if you think about it through that ancestral lens, because that's really what functional medicine is, it's just ancestral health, just like regenerative farming is original farming. We're just bringing you back to the wisdom of the original way we're supposed to do things. When you think about it, we can't process, friend or foe, we can't process those seed oils. The immune system says, I don't know what that is. So animal fats have been criminalized, but they're not the enemy. We've been rendering animal fat because we couldn't make, right? Yeah, and olive oil also, it's the whole fruit. So that's the important thing to understand about seed oils. It's the seed made into oil instead of the whole fruit. So avocado is the entire avocado, including the seed. Olive is the entire olive, including the seed. Mm-hmm. Those are really the only two main vegetable source or fruit sources The rest would come from animal fat. And eat all the tallow you want, your cholesterol is going to be fine.
No, I cook now with, just like my great grandmother, she used to cook in animal fat. So now I cook in tallow. You can buy tallow, but some of the tallow is not good anymore. So you just have to be very careful. You can make your own tallow, but this is the way our grandparents used to do it. They had a big thing of tallow, and they would actually put beef or whatever in tallow in order to preserve it because they didn't have refrigeration. So again, going back to the original ways of living is something that we're going to have to learn, and getting rid of seed oils. Again, we eat an amazing chip. You know, some of the chips that are gluten-free, or like Siete. Siete's made with seed oils, okay? The chip to get, I know, got to get rid of it. I got an alternative for you. I know, the gnashing of teeth is real. No! Okay, there's a chip company called Masa, M-A-S-A, Masa. Okay, you're going to have to order them. They are not at the grocery store. They're made with
at my
3
grocery store.
ingredients. Organic corn, tallow, beef tallow, and sea salt. That's all. It is the absolute most divine creation you have ever put in your mouth. I'm telling you, it's thick, it's crunchy, it's healthy, and you don't feel bad after you eat it. Once you start getting rid of the seed oils, you're going to notice a real shift in your health and the health of your family. Your inflammation is going to go away. And look, I'm saying all of this to you because of all of the things that I've learned, which started with the herbs. Thank God for them. Really, I do believe that there's so much about what they do. They're saving so many lives. But they started me on this process that I didn't want to even know I wanted to go on.
Well, and I don't know, y'all probably have small grocery stores, little mom pops, perhaps. I have one in Virginia Beach I opened, and I'm surrounded by empires, and I don't care. We have masa there and seed oil free. So find those stores, and if they don't carry masa, they will, because that's the original ways. The small town doctor, the small town stores, you ask for it, they're going to order it for you.
Yeah.
So just go find those small companies that are happy to oblige and order that.
Yeah, and I just order a case at a time. I'm on auto order, auto ship, so I'm the chip lady. If anybody needs, hit me up. I'll hook you up. I'm a chip dealer. Yeah, not a drug dealer. I'm a chip dealer. All right, we have some questions. Are you ready?
Okay, I have a quick question about sourcing your seeds, because I'm super paranoid about GMO and even things that say that they're organic that aren't actually organic. So where would you suggest sourcing like vegetable seeds from?
Love that question. So there's a few of my favorites. One is called Seed Savers Exchange.
Seed what?
Seed Savers Exchange. Another one is called Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. It's a long company name. Another one is called Johnny's Seeds. Johnny's also has different types of fertilizers and tools. I get a lot of my tools from there. I'm trying to think if there's... Territorial Seed Company. That's probably enough. Those catalogs are beautiful. All 4 of those catalogs. Which was what? Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. And most of these, they're very small companies, and they'll describe which of the varieties of tomatoes, for example, grow in like hot, humid, so you'll have to kind of read the description. But yeah, that should be enough. Those catalogs are big.
So one of the other areas that I've started in is I've gotten lemon trees that you can grow in containers in your backyard. And not only do they look so fabulous, very bougie, but also, lemons are so good for you. You know, there's so much that they do for your, gut health and so yeah, for detox. So I'm doing that. I'm also doing avocados. I've got avocado trees, which hate the Texas weather when it gets cold, so I bring them in the house. But everything comes inside. I have kind of anyway. So growing plants, some of these fruits and vegetables, or not vegetables, but fruits in containers works really well.
Okay, so I'm not sure who would be the best to answer this, but I'm a hairstylist, and coming from a natural health perspective, in one of your opinions, is there a certain brand that y'all recommend for coloring and hair products that you would like to share with everyone, or what's your perspective on that?
We both have an answer, I'm pretty sure. But I know, there's a lot of hair coloring things out there. I feel like Whole Foods and Natural Grocers has, I think it's called Herbitint and Nutritint. Those are two natural, ones that don't have all the toxins. And if that's what you're referring to, you might have one too.
And are you looking to change your salon to a new? Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
But there's so much greenwash products out there,
Yeah.
so it's hard to, organic or, different brands. That doesn't mean anything nowadays. And so I've been a hairstylist for 12 years, but there's so much marketing schemes. You don't really know what to believe, and I wouldn't recommend henna. There's so many different things.
Yeah. So as a stylist, there's a product called Oway, Oway, and you can become an Oway stylist. It's a European company. Everything's in glass. I think it stands for organic way, but it's a really wonderful model that you could shift into because there's a strong need for that, and you could become an Oway hair color. That's what I put in my hair. It wouldn't hold as well, but you'll get it. You'll figure it out.
All right, so I am loving this session. Y'all are speaking my language. Okay, so I love all the things. I desire to have a compound and communal living and a homestead. And I've started making sourdough, and Shelby's so proud of me. I'm doing all the discard recipes. The reason I haven't gotten the chickens is because I travel every month. I'm always on the road. What advice would you give to someone who is frequently traveling to get started with gardening or animals?
So remember, we used to all have a village of people and a community. I know, I didn't have a village either. I've had to build one, but I didn't have one at first. I travel a lot to go, play out in our snow compound in West Virginia. We have 2 compounds, and we don't take the chickens. So it's really about leaning in and building that village and asking for help, which is something that's also getting a little bit lost in women, and just saying, hey, I'm going to be out of town for a week. Can you take care of my chickens, and you can have the eggs? Yeah. That's usually what I say. Take the eggs. And they're like, oh, okay. Yeah. Just raise nice chickens so they don't attack you.
Yep. And also setting up a feeder system where they are kind of self-sustaining. And that's a great thing about chickens. First of all, a lot of you don't know this, but chickens have personalities. Not every chicken is the same. And some of them are very affectionate. They want to come crawl up in your lap. They want to follow you into the house. I mean, they want to be close to you. And then there's other chickens that they don't want to be touched. Don't touch me. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. And so they all have different personalities. But it's like a pet that gives you food. So you've got to set up a feeder system for them. So you don't want it to have to be maintenance all the time, every day. There are, I like to let mine out. I've got a really big run for them, and I built them a mansion. If you've seen my Instagram channel, they have a mansion.
Unless you have children and you want them to work, then they have to do it every day.
Yes, and your children, Sam comes over and he cleans it out. I'm just like, oh, I don't want to clean it out.
Yeah, gardening, just make sure you have an automated irrigation system.
Yeah.
You'll be gone. Yes, there will be weeds when you come back, but you'll be fine. Picking weeds is wonderful. And you can always use different weed suppression, biodegradable plastics and such. But gardening is a lot easier for travel as long as you automate water. You should automate water even if you don't travel. That's important. Just get yourself a good irrigation system.
Right.
You will forget one day, and then everything will die in Texas.
Yeah.
It just takes one day in Texas.
Really good.
Okay, this is more of an encouragement for people who live in an apartment and you don't have any ground. Like my husband and I, we have a tower garden that has grow lights indoors, and we have about 8 different kinds of herbs we grow. We grow green beans and different kinds of lettuces and spinaches. And I just wanted to see if you guys had any insight into that and how to make indoor tower gardening even better.
I don't think that the tenets change. Soil health is the focus for even indoor gardening. You're just using artificial light. I do like the idea of hydroponics and aquaponics for food deserts. I think that's a great solution. But when you're not in a food desert, let's stick with soil instead of water for growing. But is it a tower with soil? Oh, nice. So then I would test the water often for just nutrients to see what the NPK breakdown is, the microbiome status, just finding a lab that can give you a good idea of what the water nutrient capacity is. It's still the same as soil health, it would just be water health. Yeah.
Getting more exercise than the rest of us. So what about palm oil and coconut oil?
What was the question?
Palm oil and coconut oil, are they good or bad?
I think that they're good for salads. There's something about heating up those oils, which is not good. So, a lot of these you can use for cold, for salads or for whatever. But when it comes to heating these oils up, really, I found that tallow is the very best.
Well, and also, it really does depend on your ancestral lineage as well. So I'm from a Northern European lineage, a mutt, but still a Northern European. And so palm and coconut fats are harder for me to process versus animal fat. I process animal fat beautifully.
Oh, yeah, me
versus tropical or southern descendant.
Hi, I have a question about irrigation. Because the sun and the heat leaches chemicals, have you found a drip irrigation that's non-toxic, that doesn't leach those chemicals in your soil?
I wish I could say yes, but I have not. And I do still use drip in some of my areas of the garden. However, with plastic, I put mine under the soil where the soil is staying damp enough to hopefully not leach. And the rest I give to Jesus because I don't want my plants to die. But I do aerial water when I can with filtered water that's better quality. But sometimes you really have to get that drip right on that root system.
I have really tried to do this over the last couple of years in Texas, and it seems like it gets hot really early, stays hot really long, and then when it starts to get nice enough to plant again, then it gets cold really fast. And I even built a tarp over my garden that has a 50% light and put sprinklers in overhead to try to keep the cooling down. Nothing's working. Everything's dying.
So that would be, I think you're wondering, what can you do? Is the a mulch system. So you want to have a nice top dressing of mulch to try to encourage the cooler or hotter, whichever. And yeah, shade cloths, row covers, etc., and good water. But what I've learned about Virginia Beach has a similar situation going on, and so the cold season is short in the spring, and we switch to hot. And so a lot of times I just overwinter and I winter garden when there's more consistent, cooler temperatures. your broccolis and cabbages and stuff that need a longer cool season, you would truly plant in November, late October, and you would do a 4-season gardening type of climate. Yeah.
I have two things. One, my husband doesn't really eat much beef or fish. Is there like a cost-efficient way to find pasture-raised chicken that you are aware of? And then the other thing is, I've been doing this for a little while, and sometimes you just feel overwhelmed when you're like, oh, well, that wasn't that good anymore. Like, how do you keep the mindset of pursuing excellence when sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming getting into?
Yep. Okay, I'll answer the easy one first about chicken. Then I'll answer the hard one. But the first one about regenerative farming is that term doesn't really exist yet in terms of finding them on websites, et cetera. So you really got to start getting boots on the ground with people like the Herb Center has resource guides for, I'm sure, and farmers markets, and just starting to ask those questions. I don't know of, outside of Polyface Farm, I don't know of chicken farmers, specifically poultry shipping, but I do know that they do, and it's polyfaceyum.com, Polyface, Polyface, and then Yum. Polyface is actually internationally famous, so they're a wonderful regenerative farm. Number 2, it would be having someone help you. And that's why I do what I do. I would love to help you, and other people, I hope, start to become practitioners who are actually guiding people through homesteading and food freedom, and not just necessarily being functional medicine practitioners. I think we need to bring the two together, and that's what my practice does. And I'm happy to help. I have appointments on my website for teaching you how to homestead, or I can just run your yearly blood work, whichever you want. Or we can do both, which is what most people do. Because we have some lost wisdom that's being passed down, and we need to bring that back.
Yeah.
We have multi-generational lost wise elders. I'm not elder yet, but I'll carry the torch until we've gotten to. So,
I want to speak to that for a minute. You know, it's really hard to turn the ship. And that's what's happening right now in this generation of women. We're really having to say, oh, I'm going to have to be a pioneer in all of these areas. And it seems exhausting, but it's really not, because I realize that you're breaking through something. But just as it was several years ago when nobody was making sourdough, all of a sudden now everybody's making sourdough. And you're having to learn these things about the starter and all that kind of stuff on your own. But you're breaking through something for a whole generation of people. And as you go, so they'll go. And so just keep plowing, no pun intended, keep plowing ahead and watch as you begin to learn and begin to teach these things. All of these other women are going to start joining you. And I want to tell you a great story that, excuse me, I've been talking 8 hours. That back before there used to be washers and dryers, they used to have villages where people would raise their kids and they would farm their crops and all of that. But before washers and dryers, all of the women would go down every week and they would go to a river and they would clean their clothes in the river. And they found that the prosperity of these women and their health and their emotional health and their mental health and their physical health, that they were living to be 120 years old. Why? Because the collective nature of women and the desire of women to be connected in friendship with other women in order that we all pull the load together but not separately, it really had a profound effect on us. And so I want to tell you all something. Having friends to do this together, and you hear me say about create a party, make it fun. What we're doing is we really need to get back to the core value of friendship, community, being a village, and reaching out and saying, I really need help, and finding the collective voice of all of us together. It really is going to be a game changer in the value and the essence of life for us as women.
My question is about affordable drinking water that's clean. I know about the Kangen system, but I
can't afford one of those right now. They're like $6,000. But like, what do you think is the best option for water? Because I'm aware that our water supply is also contaminated.
I'll just tell you what I tell my patients. I mean, you know, plastic right now is, I mean, you see all the things that are coming out about plastic, it's poison. So you got to get away from the things that, you know, you have plastic in, heating things up in plastic in the microwave, things like that. So I usually tell patients to get a water filter and attach it to your sink and start there. And then next, get a water filter and attach it to your shower and make sure that you're filtering the water. You know, when you have hot water hitting your scalp, it's dilating the blood vessels, and all the other people's pharmaceuticals and all the, you know, the fluoride and the chlorine, all that is dumping in you, in your brain. The phthalates, the xenoestrogens, all that stuff is dumping in you. So, you know, first start with that drinking water under the sink, and then put one on your shower, you know, and then when you could eventually, if you're going to stay in your home, you know, look at getting a full home, you know, system, because it'll pay off for sure.
And they make them so well. They've really improved the home systems. And also with the demand, I've noticed that the prices are very affordable.
Yeah, my favorite one is Hydro Perfection from Perfect Water. I think Home Depot sells it as well. It's a reverse osmosis system that sadly, we have to strip our water down and minerals out to get rid of the poison. So make sure then you are adding the lovely salt that we got and electrolytes and trace minerals back into your water after.
Last question.
Thank you. It's actually 2 in 1. The first one is, we've been in homeschool for about 1.5 years now, and all of a sudden I'm getting bombarded from her doctor's office, my child's doctor's office, about booster vaccines. She's due. And I wasn't worried about it because she's not in school anymore, and typically the nurse will let you know, right? But I have felt in my heart strongly not to booster my child anymore. And, you know, especially that we're doing homeschool. So do you recommend to ignore those boosters at her 15-year-old age, or?
All ages, we ignore them. All ages. It's just poison. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like
Find another.
hepatitis, you name it, you know. And I'm like, you know, the devil can come and whisper to your ear, you know.
Yeah.
And what if she gets sick? And what if she's this? And what if she's that? But, you know, I rebuke those thoughts, and I'm like, you know, she's covered in the blood of Jesus, so.
Find another doctor. You don't need to. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And last question too, any holistic or natural ADHD, what's it called, medication supplement?
So we don't prescribe medication in our office. We have a lot of kids with ADHD, you name it, in our office, autism. We come in, we balance the nerve system, align the spine, we get proper nutrients in them, we test them. You know, we do metabolic testing to see what vitamins and minerals that their body actually needs, as well as what toxins maybe they've been exposed to help get that out of the system. We make sure they're moving, they're sleeping right, and, you know, dump the toxins. Like that's really and so kids that come in our office that have ADHD and have learning things like that, they do phenomenally well in the office when they've been given exactly what they need to be able to heal.
Okay, I just want to say this, ladies, before you leave, make sure you get a number. Are you going to talk about this? Okay, anything else you wanted to add, just briefly?
Really quick, I want to touch on that question as well for autism or ADHD, et cetera. You want to look at 2 areas: microbiome status, the gut, and toxic burden. So getting a stool test and getting a urinary metabolite test so that the practitioner can interlace the 2 together and say, what's causing what in the brain? Why is the brain being poisoned? Why is the brain being malnourished? And then you can go from there, and you pair that with building a compound, you're all set.
Build the compound. That's the only
Build
thing
a
you'll remember
compound.
from this conference. We knew they were a cult. All
Maybe
right,
I should choose a
Lindsay.
different word.
About what? Oh, vaccine.
Yeah, real quick. I'm a trained pediatrician before I started working in the ER, and I apologize that I pushed vaccines in the past. But right now, I'll tell everybody, don't take any vaccines. A lot of none.
None.
I know children that do not take vaccines, and they are much healthier than
Yes.
the ones that are vaccinated. And right now, if you listen to the CEO of Pfizer, they are practically putting mRNA in all our vaccines. You see, they can change 50% of the flu vaccine without telling you, without having to update anything on their website. So I'll just try and tell everybody right now, until further notice, I was just going to say that for disclaimer, but until further notice, no vaccines, not for pneumonia, not for flu, not for anything,
Yes.
no vaccines. That is, as a physician, that is where I am right now, no vaccines, because we don't know what they are putting in these vaccines. And like I said, we have to get to a stage in life that we're not so scared to die or something, and give your life to Christ. Don't be so scared to die that you're willing to inject whatever they throw at you because you're so scared that, oh my God, if I don't inject it, I might die. You understand what I'm saying? We need to just give our life to Christ and trust Jesus. In this time, the safest place for everybody is going to be in Christ. You know, I'm so thankful. I'm glad that I'm going to hang out with you guys later because I need to get some more of all that information. Amen.
Well, and as Tracy said, y'all need to get ready because they're going to start putting vaccines in food.
The food.
They already are.
Yeah.
So you've got to get your garden going. We have to speed this up. And you may get exhausted, but we got to lean on each other.
It's go time.
Okay.
Fencing, different netting and fencing. I can talk to you offline.
You can put plastic snakes and stuff like that. Oh,
A dog.
citrus, also orange peels, lemon peels.
You guys, hasn't this been amazing? Woo! Dr. Kimberly Erb and also Ashley Grosh are going to be out at the table if you have any questions. They have some product. You want to buy her book. Definitely. Here's Vanna right here. Here's the book. And go visit them. We're going to give Lindsay, just this time, she's going to give you the activation, all right, for dinner.
Okay, we have an activation for you, so don't leave. And you need a ticket. So we created groups for you. If you didn't get a ticket, we'll get one here in a minute. And the other thing that you're going to do is you're going to meet your team. Okay, so you're numbered 1 through 20, and your group 1 will just meet over here, and it'll go 2, 3, all the way to 20. You're going to meet your friends, your new friends that you're going to meet, that you're going to talk to over dinner. Lori is going to come around and give you your prompt. So you've got to get your prompt because you're going to have a conversation over dinner. And when we get back, we're going to have a bigger conversation and find out what you talked about. Okay, so it's important. So we can, if you're a group 1 person, you can start there. And we're just going to 1, 2, all the way to 20. If you don't have a ticket yet, we will get you, just come my way. John, come up here. And we've got tickets. We'll give you a ticket. If you don't have one yet, let's get one. And you're going to, if you don't, you want to get the numbers of your team. If you don't ride in the same car, however you're going to do it, you can problem solve how you're going to go to a dinner place. We've got a slide here for dinner and lunch suggestions. So there you go.
One more thing. If there's somebody in your group that cannot afford to pay for their dinner, the rest of you pay for their dinner, okay? This is everybody, this is an all skate. I want everybody engaged in this process. This is almost like a test run to see if we can be solutionaries for the problems that we find ourselves in, okay? I really want to push on your leadership buttons right now, and I'm trusting that you're going to ask the Holy Spirit and have some creative ideas, all right? Love y'all.